Chapter 864. Have you heard? The Purple Star second sequence Z Tianhen has broken through to the Daoist Master Realm. Not only that, but he also wants to challenge Chu Kuangren. Of course, news of this has spread. Also, I heard that before this, Z Tianhen had once challenged the first sequence, Z Xiao, but unfortunately, he was defeated. TSK, the second sequence has broken through to the level of a great Dao Lord, but he is still no match for the first sequence. Z Xiao is really too strong. That's right. As expected of one of the two strongest in the Purple Gold Galaxy. Now that Z Tianhen has challenged Chu Kuangren to a duel, Chu Kuangren's previous battle results are very impressive. First, he defeated a group of immortal seeds, then he killed the fourth sequence cultivator, Z Ying. Perhaps he can really fight Z Tianhen. I knew that the Purple Star sect wouldn't let Chu Kuangren off so easily, but I didn't expect them to take action so soon, and in such a manner too. All the major forces in the Purple Gold Galaxy had their eyes on this duel. As one of the duelists, Z Tianhen had already headed towards the Mystic Moon ancient city when he issued the challenge. However, when he arrived at the Mystic Moon ancient city, he heard from the Mystic Moon Daoist Lord that Chu Kuangren was in a closed-door meditation. I will wait for him outside the ancient Mystic Moon city. When he comes out, tell him that he has to accept this battle, whether he wants it or not. Z Tianhen said proudly. After that, he turned around and left. He stopped on an uninhabited star outside the Mystic Moon ancient city, waiting for Chu Kuangren to come and fight him. At the same time, he also sent many people to keep an eye on the city lord's mansion. Z Tianhen would know the moment Chu Kuangren appeared. In the city lord's mansion. Chu Kuangren was currently in a closed-door meditation to refine the lunar radiance. That massive amount of lunar radiance was enough to elevate his cultivation to another level. Apart from the moonlight, he was also comprehending the power of the immortal physique. The power of the immortal physique was indeed extraordinary. It gave Chu Kuangren the ability to manipulate frost chi and gave him a unique advantage in the frost cultivation Dao, allowing his cultivation speed to far exceed that of other cultivators. However, Chu Kuangren did not intend to focus solely on the frost Dao. He had his own path to walk. The Guanghan immortal physique was just a supplementary method to him. Apart from the immortal body and moonlight. What Chu Kuangren cared about the most was the lunar essence. A moon spirit that can comprehend origin energy? I can't help but pay attention to this. Chu Kuangren fiddled with the lunar essence in his hand. Immortals controlled the power of origin. In order to become an immortal, one had to first comprehend the power of origin. However, this barrier alone had already stopped 99% of the cultivators in the world. In the universe, treasures or techniques that could help cultivators comprehend the origin energy were mostly priceless items, such as this moonlight essence. Chu Kuangren held the lunar essence in his hand and began to refine it. In a trance, his consciousness left his body and arrived at a colorful and mysterious space. Chu Kuangren saw a flaming meteor fly past him, saw a blizzard erupt, and saw a towering tree rise from the ground. Every scene had its own unique Daoist charm. This is the origin world. Chu Kuangren seemed to have understood something as he murmured. The origin world was a conceptual world. There was no fixed location, time, or form, but it existed in all things. Even a flower or a grain of sand could contain the existence of an origin realm, but entering an origin realm was incredibly difficult. Even immortals would not be able to enter at will. This moonlight essence can bring my consciousness into the origin world. Well, entering the origin world is only the first step to understanding the origin energy. Chu Kuangren looked at the scenery around him. It was formed by the thousands of origins in the universe. Through these scenes, one could understand the power of the origin energy. However, it was too mysterious that one could not understand it at all. For example, if Chu Kuangren stared at a volcano and wanted to understand the power of the origin energy within it, the volcano would turn into an ice mountain in the next instant. The myriad of scenes were dazzling. It was impossible for a person to settle down to understand the origin energy. At that moment, a white light appeared in front of Chu Kuangren. It was the moonlight essence. The moonlight essence then flew towards a certain direction. With a thought, Chu Kuangren followed closely behind the moonlight essence. Soon, his consciousness arrived at a mysterious place. It was an ocean, and a bright moon rose from the ocean. A bright moon shone above the ocean. As if it was startled by Chu Kuangren's arrival, this magnificent scene began to fluctuate as if it was going to disappear at any moment. However, at that moment, the moonlight essence landed on the bright moon in the sky and merged into it. The originally disintegrating moon stabilized once again. Meanwhile, the Daoist fluctuations within the moon lit up Chu Kuangren's eyes. Not daring to waste any time, he immediately began to understand the moon. Time passed, and soon, 3 days had passed. Chu Kuangren's consciousness stayed in the origin world for 3 days. Chu Kuangren's consciousness only returned when the lunar radiance essence had been fully consumed and the miraculous scene of a bright moon rising from the sea had dissipated. So this is the origin energy, Chu Kuangren murmured. He opened his palm and a wisp of chilling moonlight circulated. Unlike the other moonlights, this wisp of moonlight contained an extremely powerful energy fluctuation. This wasn't an ordinary moonlight. This was the origin energy of the moon. Although it was only a wisp, it was enough for Chu Kuangren to kill anyone who was weaker than the heavenly Tao Master. Not only that, but Chu Kuangren could also use this wisp of origin energy to further understand the mysteries of the origin energy of the moon. A piece of moonlight essence was enough for him to step into the origin domain. This gain was not much lesser than obtaining the lunar immortal physique. It's all thanks to my superior comprehension that I was able to use the lunar radiance essence to gain a sliver of the moon origin in the origin world and master it. If it were any other cultivator, being able to gain a sliver of the moon origin would be their limit. Chu Kuangren chuckled. After this closed-door meditation, he had completely absorbed the moonlight essence within his body. His cultivation level had skyrocketed from the Daoist Lord Realm to the late-stage Daoist Lord Realm. Coupled with the lunar immortal physique and the origin energy of the moon, his combat strength had risen to another level. In the purple gold galaxy now, even the 2 sequence 1 existences are no match for me. No, even if all the immortal seeds in this galaxy were to come together, I have nothing to fear. Chu Kuangren sensed the power in his body and a look of disdain appeared in his eyes. Next, he just had to wait for the shattered immortal world to descend. I wonder what's going on in the outside world. Chu Kuangren's emperor's thought surged and spread across the entire mystic moon ancient city. In next to no time, he found out about everything that had happened during this period of time, and this naturally included Zi Tianhen's challenge. Purple Star's 2nd sequence. I've just killed a 4th sequence, and now a 2nd sequence has popped up. There's really no end to this. He shook his head, got up, and walked out of the room. The moment he appeared, the strong cultivators who had been observing in the dark sensed his presence, and their eyes lit up. Chu Kuangren has appeared. Quick, inform His Second Highness. Humph, he's finally willing to show himself. The news of Chu Kuangren coming out of his closed-door meditation spread like wildfire throughout the city, and Zi Tianhen was the first to receive the news. Chapter 865. Outside the ancient mystic moon city. On a planet, a young man with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes was sitting with his legs crossed. His aura circulated as countless starlight surrounded his body. Suddenly, the young man opened his eyes. A ray of light flashed, and the countless starlight shattered. The young man then stood up and looked in the direction of the ancient mystic moon city. Poetic sword god Chu Kuangren, you're finally out. That person was the purple star sequence cultivator who challenged Chu Kuangren, Zi Tianhen. He had received news of Chu Kuangren's return. Not only him. All the major forces had also received the news. Everyone looked in the direction of the city hall, wanting to see how Chu Kuangren would deal with it. It looks like Zi Tianhen is determined to win this battle. That's for sure. Chu Kuangren killed Zi Ying, so there's no way the Purple Star sect will let it go. This is Zi Tianhen's revenge. Let's see how strong Chu Kuangren is. Zi Tianhen has broken through to the great Daoist master level, so his strength is not something that Zi Ying can compare to. Not bad, the emperor's thoughts conversed in the void. The city hall suddenly became the center of attention. To be more precise, Chu Kuangren had become the center of attention. Brother Chu, what do you plan to do? The mystic moon Daoist master found Chu Kuangren and asked. What do I plan to do? Ignore it. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Ignore it? That's right. If I have to accept every challenge from any celestial seed, wouldn't I be too busy? Chu Kuangren said. He did not care about Zi Tianhen at all. He was too lazy to respond to his opponent's challenge. For the next few days, he stayed in the city hall, reading, sipping tea, drinking wine, and occasionally visiting the Mystic Moon City's scenic spots. In the eyes of others, he was living a carefree life. In fact, the only one who was relaxing was Chu Kuangren's heavenly soul. His mortal soul and earthly soul had been fighting in the spiritual illusion realm to derive the two great mysteries. However, no one else knew about that. A few days passed. Chu Kuangren did not challenge Zi Tianhen directly. All of a sudden, the entire ancient Mystic Moon City was in a heated discussion. This Chu Kuangren is still so relaxed even after Zi Tianhen has challenged him. Does he really not care about his opponent? I don't think he's afraid, is he? Scared? Yeah, the one who challenged him is Purple Star's Sequence 2, the Great Path Master Zi Tianhen. He's afraid and doesn't dare to accept the challenge, but he's afraid of embarrassing himself by saying it out loud, so he's using this method to cover up his guilt. Some cultivators said with certainty. Meanwhile, the rumor that Chu Kuangren was guilty and did not dare to accept the challenge spread like wildfire in the Mystic Moon Ancient City, causing his reputation to hit rock bottom. What poetic sword celestial! It's all fake. Bullsh *t, as an immortal seed, you don't even dare to accept the challenge when others have already come knocking on your door. You have the looks of an immortal seed, but you don't have the heart of an immortal seed. Not bad, disappointing. Chu Kuangren? What a waste of a name. Chu Kuangren was constantly bombarded with rumors and slanders. And on this day, Chu Kuangren was drinking in one of the largest brothels in the Mystic Moon Ancient City, and in front of him was a group of beautiful dancers. This was the Wind Moon Workshop. Mystic Moon Ancient City's largest brothel. It was also the biggest money-squandering den. However, Chu Kuangren now had a huge pile of soul marrow on him, so he did not care about such expenses at all. He was not an ascetic monk. Occasionally, there would be times to enjoy and relax. For example, right now, with wine in his hands, music in his ears, and beautiful women dancing in front of him, swaying their bodies, it was a feast for the eyes. Reward. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, he could produce tens of thousands of kilograms of soul marrow. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Beside Chu Kuangren was a voluptuous woman with a face full of smiles. She was the owner of the Wind Moon Workshop. Her eyes lit up as she looked at Chu Kuangren, who was spending money like dirt. She had naturally heard of the rumors and slanders outside. However, to her, those things weren't important at all. In the Wind Moon Workshop, whoever had the soul marrow was the benefactor. They did not care about challenges or whether they were immortal seeds or not. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, had a lot of soul marrow, was spending money like dirt, and his looks were extraordinary. It could be said that he was the perfect customer of the Wind Moon workshop. Come, master, let me toast you again. The owner of the Wind Moon workshop lifted the wine pot and filled Chu Kuangren's cup. Owner, your boundless romance is the best in Mystic Moon City. Chu Kuangren looked at the wine cup in his hand and chuckled. Boundless romance was the most expensive wine in the Wind Moon workshop. Chu Kuangren fell in love with it the first time he drank it. He even asked Xiao AI to analyze it so that he could brew it himself when he had the time. It would be great to have a few sips of it in the future. Of course. There are two things that must be done in the Mystic Moon Ancient City. The first is to ascend the full moon platform to see the full moon's secret realm. The second is to come to my Wind Moon house and have a pot of boundless wind and moon. The owner of the Wind Moon workshop said proudly. Then, she smiled beside Chu Kuangren and said, by the way, Xiaoya and the others have a new dance today. Would you like to see it, master? Oh, that's great. Chu Kuangren nodded. The owner of the Wind Moon workshop clapped her hands. Suddenly, a group of new dancers walked out from the stage. The girls bowed to Chu Kuangren and then began to dance. The dancers held their swords, their steps light and agile. However, as the sword rays flashed, the sound of gold and jade echoed, and there was no lack of heroism. It's a good dance, but why isn't it fun? Chu Kuangren asked. This is Xiaoya and the others' new dance. They haven't found a suitable song yet, the owner of the Wind Moon workshop said. There's a dance but no music. Let me add the final stroke, Chu Kuangren said with a smile. He raised his hand and grabbed a guqin not far away. Then, he plucked the strings with all 10 fingers, and a beautiful guqin sound poured out. Beside him, the owner of the Wind Moon workshop's eyes lit up. Master Chu knows how to play the guqin. The guqin sound was majestic, and it matched the dancers' dance perfectly. One played the music, and the other danced. The two complemented each other perfectly. This guqin sound. I'm afraid Master Chu knows more than that. The owner of the Wind Moon workshop's eyes lit up. She looked at Chu Kuangren's profile and could not help but be stunned. The guqin sound echoed and spread out from the Wind Moon workshop. Many people heard the guqin sound. This guqin sound. Who is it? Who's playing the guqin? From the Wind Moon workshop. Is it their guqin master? This guqin sound is majestic, and its artistic conception is profound. It seems that there's a musical expert in the Wind Moon workshop. Come, let's go take a look. Many people were attracted by the guqin sound and headed to the Wind Moon workshop. In the Wind Moon workshop, the dancers danced to the music, their bodies swaying and their swords flashing. It was a dazzling and mesmerizing sight. The guqin sound grew louder, and the swords danced more and more wildly. Vaguely, it seemed as if thousands of soldiers and horses were fighting. The group of dancers seemed to have turned into generals on the battlefield, and the women were not inferior to the men. The cultivators who came to the Wind Moon workshop could not help but be shocked when they saw this scene. When the guqin sound stopped, the dancers stopped as well. Their faces were red and sweaty, but their eyes were unprecedentedly bright. That dance just now was the most exciting and the pinnacle of their lives. It was as if they had reached some kind of realm where they were one with nature. As bright as shooting down the 9 suns, as majestic as a group of emperors soaring like dragons. Come like thunder, retract with fury, and leave like the clear light of the river. Chu Kuangren's voice rang out. He looked at the group of dancers with admiration in his eyes. He raised his glass and said, "Good dance. Let me toast everyone." Chapter 866. Like shooting down the 9 suns, like a group of emperors soaring like dragons. Come like thunder, retreat like fury, and leave like the clear light of the river. The mistress of Wind Moon House murmured. She looked at Chu Kuangren with infatuation in her eyes and clapped her hands. Someone, pour wine for the sisters and toast Master Chu. Ha, then I'll toast first. Chu Kuangren smiled and downed the wine in his cup. Let's toast Master Chu. The leading dancer raised her cup to Chu Kuangren and downed it as well. The girls looked at Chu Kuangren with shining eyes. I didn't expect Master Chu to know how to play guqin, and your skills are so good. May I know the name of that song? The leading dancer, Xiaoya, asked. I haven't played for a long time, so I'm a little rusty. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Hearing his words, the musicians of Wind Moon House could not help but sweat. The song just now was played out of inspiration. It has no name, so I'll give it to Wind Moon House. Chu Kuangren smiled lightly. His musical Dao was so high that he had reached the chordless realm a few years ago. Occasionally, he would have a flash of inspiration and play a famous song. In other words, this song was made for us? The eyes of Xiaoya and the others lit up. Yes. Thank you, Master Chu. The dancers were overjoyed and beaming with joy. They looked at Chu Kuangren with admiration in their eyes. The musicians of the Fengyue house could only smile bitterly. She was able to create a world-shaking famous song out of her own feelings. Her zither skills were much better than theirs. I didn't expect Chu Kuangren to know how to play guqin, and his level is so high. What a surprise. Did you guys hear his poem just now? As expected of the poetic sword god. This is another masterpiece that will be handed down through the ages. TSK, this is all there is to it. The cultivators who were attracted by the guqin music were amazed. They looked at Chu Kuangren, who was surrounded by the dancers, with envy and jealousy in their eyes. Humph, no matter how good his poem is, so what? He's just a coward who avoids battle. A cultivator snorted coldly, and some of the cultivators who were jealous of Chu Kuangren could not help but agree when they heard this. That's right. Avoiding the battle is just a coward. Humph. As an immortal seed, he doesn't think about improving himself and spends all his time wandering around in the brothels. Such a person wants to become an immortal? In your dreams. Zi Tianhen is many times stronger than him. All sorts of disparaging remarks about Chu Kuangren were heard. Of course, Chu Kuangren heard it too. However, before he could do anything, the manager's gaze had already turned cold, and then she flicked her sleeve, causing a strand of powerful imperial energy to surge out and blast those people who had belittled her flying. Don't even think about entering the Wind Moon House from now on. The owner of the Wind Moon House said domineeringly. She was not just an ordinary woman. To be able to run the largest money-squandering establishment in Mystic Moon City, it was impossible for her not to have some tricks up her sleeve. In truth, however, her cultivation base was so high that she had reached the Great Dao Lord level a long time ago. Moreover, she was a peak Great Dao Lord who was second only to the Heaven Dao Master. Young Master Chu, it's my fault for letting these rotten tongues in and spoiling your mood, the owner of the brothel apologized. It's all right. Chu Kuangren did not mind at all. Play the music. The owner of the Wind Moon House clapped her hands. Just when the music started again, a powerful aura suddenly descended from the sky and locked onto the entire Wind Moon House. Chu Kuangren, you're in such a good mood. An angry voice rang out from the void. A figure appeared out of thin air above the Wind Moon House. He was dressed in purple, and his brows were straight like swords. It was Zi Tianhen. Zi Tianhen's sudden appearance made everyone gasp. Chu Kuangren looked at him with a playful look in his eyes. An emperor's will projection is here. What's the matter? The figure in front of him was not Zi Tianhen himself, but an emperor's will projection. However, just a projection alone was already so powerful. It was enough to show how powerful Zi Tianhen was. Chu Kuangren, why did you ignore my challenge? Zi Tianhen said coldly. Heh, why should I? Chu Kuangren chuckled. Are you afraid? Don't overestimate yourself. Chu Kuangren, you've killed my purple star celestial seed. Even if you have the support of the mortal sky illusionary Immortal, don't think that you can rest easy. I hereby issue you a challenge. This is a battle between celestial seeds. If you have the guts, accept it and fight me to your heart's content. Let's settle this score. Zi Tianhen said coldly to Chu Kuangren. An even more powerful aura emanated from his Emperor's Will projection. What a powerful aura. It's just an Emperor's Will projection, yet it's already so powerful. How powerful must his actual combat strength be? The second sequence is extraordinary. It's going to be hard for Chu Kuangren to win. The crowd secretly exclaimed. Some of them had paid attention to the battle between Zi Tianhen and the first sequence, Zi Shao, so they had a better understanding of their opponent's strength. In their opinion, it would be difficult for Chu Kuangren to win this battle. Due to Chu Kuangren's performance in the past few days, many people had already acknowledged that he was no match for Zi Tianhen. Fight me to my heart's content? Chu Kuangren could not help but shake his head and laugh. What are you laughing at? Zi Tianhen frowned, feeling insulted. What right do you have to fight me to my heart's content? Just because you've broken through to the great Tao master level? Just because you're the purple star second sequence? You're too weak. You're just too weak. You're not qualified to be my opponent. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. His insufferably arrogant words caused those who heard it to be moved. How arrogant. Does he know what he's saying? Humph, he's just trying to be mysterious. If he's really as strong as he says, why hasn't he accepted the challenge after so long? Some people were shocked, while others sneered. In the sky. Zi Tianhen's Emperor's Will projection's expression was extremely gloomy. Do you think you're invincible just because you killed Ziying? The strength of a second sequence and a fourth sequence is different. I only used a little bit of strength to kill Ziying. Do you think that's my full strength? How can you see the heaven's might from looking at the sky from a well? A majestic and terrifying aura erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. The entire mystic moon ancient city trembled. Zi Tianhen's Emperor's Will projection was the first to bear the brunt of this terrifying aura. Its expression changed instantly, and then, the Emperor's Will projection violently fluctuated before it collapsed. On a distant planet, Zi Tianhen suddenly opened his eyes and stared in the direction of the mystic moon ancient city. This aura, how is this possible? In terms of aura alone, Chu Kuangren was already above him. But why did he release his aura there? Zi Tianhen was puzzled. His Emperor's Will surged as he tried to sense the mystic moon ancient city. Inside the romance workshop, an unparalleled aura continued to spread out. Chu Kuangren carried a pot of boundless romance and rose into the sky. The aura on his body was still rising. What is he trying to do? This aura. Terrifying. Everyone was speechless in their hearts. They felt that they might have guessed wrong. With this aura alone, there was no reason for Chu Kuangren to be afraid of Zi Tianhen. Inside the city lord's manor, the mystic moon Daoist master also sensed Chu Kuangren's aura and could not help but chuckle. He's finally going to make his move. Chapter 867. Mystic Moon Ancient City, Wind Moon Workshop. A boundless, incomparably terrifying domineering aura continued to spread. Every cultivator was shocked by this powerful aura. What a powerful aura. Who is it? This aura. Could it be? Rays of light flew out and surges of Emperor's thoughts surged in the mystic moon ancient city. Soon, they locked onto the source of the powerful aura. The cultivators looked at the sky above Wind Moon Workshop and narrowed their eyes. It's really him. This aura is much stronger than it was a few months ago at the full moon platform. And it's not just a little bit stronger. His speed of improvement is just too fast. A Daoist lord. Everyone was in disbelief. After all, it was extremely difficult to improve after reaching the Daoist Lord realm. Even a small breakthrough would require a lot of effort and resources. That would usually take thousands or even tens of thousands of years. However, Chu Kuangren had only spent a few short months. A few months ago, he had just stepped into the Daoist Lord realm at the full moon platform, and a few months later, he had soared to the Daoist Lord realm. Even if he was a top-notch fairy seed, such a speed of improvement was still unbelievable to the Daoist lords. What's he trying to do with such a powerful aura? Some of the Daoist lords were confused. However, they soon understood the whole story. Everyone's eyes lit up when they learned that Zi Tianhen was here to challenge them. Is he finally going to make a move? Looks like the duel is about to begin. Everyone could not help but look forward to it. One was a famous fairy seed, while the other was a Purple Star's second sequence cultivator. This battle would definitely be exciting. However, after waiting for a while, Chu Kuangren did not make any moves. All they saw was him hovering above Wind Moon Workshop with a wine flask in his hand. He did not look like he was going to fight Zi Tianhen. If he was not going to fight, why was he emitting such a terrifying aura? Was he trying to scare them? Found it. At that moment, Chu Kuangren suddenly spoke. He looked into the distant sky, past all obstacles, and locked onto Zi Tianhen, who was on a planet outside the mystic moon ancient city. On the planet, Zi Tianhen's pupils shrunk. What was he trying to do? Chu Kuangren, who was hovering above Romance Workshop, raised the bottle of boundless romance in his hand and gulped down half of it. The wine did not feel like much at first, but the after-effects were strong. Chu Kuangren had already drunk a few bottles, and now that he had downed half a bottle, the accumulated alcohol in his body suddenly exploded. Chu Kuangren could have gotten rid of the alcohol in his body, but he did not. His face immediately turned red, and his eyes became misty. Everyone couldn't help but feel strange when they saw this. Drinking wine during a battle? What is Chu Kuangren trying to do? Everyone was puzzled. Chu Kuangren, who was in a slightly tipsy state, let out a drunken burp and recited loudly, "A poem and a sword to settle a business, living up to my reputation of 40 years of arrogance." As his words fell, the terrifying pressure on his body reached its peak. Then, he took a deep breath. The wind and clouds around him surged, and endless spiritual energy was absorbed into his body. At that moment, all the powerful cultivators in the mystic moon ancient city felt their scalps go numb and their hearts palpitated as they stared at Chu Kuangren. The Daoist patterns on Chu Kuangren's body swirled as he opened his mouth and spat. In an instant, the spiritual qi, emperor qi, and wine qi all turned into a murderous sword qi that gushed out and blasted into the distance. "Burp, you're only qualified to fight me if you can block this sword," Chu Kuangren said with a drunken burp. Upon hearing his words, everyone looked at the sword qi. They had already guessed what was going to happen. The sword qi was like a stream of light. In the blink of an eye, it flew out of the mystic moon ancient city and headed towards the vast starry sky. Its target was Zi Tianhen, who was thousands of miles away. The sword qi was so strong that it tore the starry sky apart. Zi Tianhen was locked on by the sword qi, and he suddenly felt a horrifying aura that he had never felt before. His pupils could not help but tremble violently. Immortal technique, galactic apocalypse. Zi Tianhen roared and pushed his cultivation to its limit. A burst of immortal technique fluctuations erupted, and the starlight in the sky disappeared. 100,000 miles of galactic river appeared in the sky. The galactic river and the sword qi collided. A loud explosion was heard. The galactic river exploded. However, the sword qi was like a hot knife through butter as it swept straight towards Zi Tianhen. How could this be? Zi Tianhen was extremely shocked. That move just now was already his full strength. However, it was easily destroyed by Chu Kuangren's sword qi. Just how terrifying was his opponent's strength? Am I going to die? Facing the sword Qi, Zi Tianhen could not help but think in fear. The purple star second sequence cultivator suddenly panicked. Then, he forcefully suppressed the fear in his heart and roared, "Divine heavenly barrier, appear." He raised his hand and unleashed a ray of golden light. The golden light transformed into a golden barrier with countless Daoist patterns flowing on it. There were also strange beasts in the mountains, rivers, and the universe starry sea. It was a top-notch defensive Daoist weapon. In fact, it was only half a step away from becoming a heavenly Daoist weapon. Boom! The sword Qi blasted on the barrier. A terrifying explosion was heard, and the surrounding stars shook. The ground under Zi Tianhen's feet immediately caved in. Some of the sword Qi that escaped swept across the surface of the stars, tearing huge cracks. Not long after, the entire planet was almost shattered. Ah! Zi Tianhen roared and continuously injected his emperor's qi into the barrier. However, under the impact of the sword qi, the barrier cracked inch by inch. Then, with a loud bang, it turned into countless light spots and exploded. Zi Tianhen was hit by the sword qi, and his bones and flesh were torn apart on the spot. The purple star second sequence cultivator had fallen. After the sword qi killed Zi Tianhen, it smashed onto the planet. The shattered planet finally could not hold on any longer and exploded. A single sword strike killed a sequence cultivator and shattered a planet. All the strong cultivators who witnessed this scene were dumbfounded. Above the lunar romance workshop in the mystic moon ancient city, Chu Kuangren drank the rest of the boundless romance in one gulp and chuckled. Can't even withstand a single sword strike? Purple star second sequence? Useless. Purple star second sequence? Useless? All the strong cultivators who heard this were stunned for a long time. Writing a poem before killing someone, unleashing a peerless sword qi with a single breath. Chu Kuangren, a poetic sword sage with both sword and poetry. A poem and a sword to settle a business, living up to his reputation of 40 years. Oh my God, I just remembered that this person is only 40 years old. He's not even 60 years old yet. This is too terrifying. He's not even 40 years old yet, he already has such earth-shattering strength. Give him a few more years and he might really become an immortal. The poetic sword sage lives up to his name. All the strong cultivators were shocked. Some of them were old monsters who had lived for countless years, but it was their first time seeing someone as talented as Chu Kuangren. Those who had been belittling Chu Kuangren for the past few days were also dumbfounded. A single sword strike from thousands of miles away, killing someone and destroying a planet. This kind of ability was too terrifying. What kind of monster were they belittling? No wonder he's not willing to accept challenges these days. It's not that he's afraid, it's because he's disdainful. Zi Tianhen is not qualified to be his opponent. The gap between them is too big, too big. On this day, Chu Kuangren composed a poem, drew his sword, and killed another purple star sequence cultivator. The poetic sword sage's name had shaken the entire galaxy. Chapter 868. Mystic Moon Ancient City, Romance Workshop. Chu Kuangren returned to the workshop. Workshop owner, please refill my wine. Yes, master. At this time, the ladies in Romance Workshop looked at Chu Kuangren with excitement in their eyes. The strong cultivators outside the workshop, on the other hand, were secretly shocked. After that sword, Chu Kuangren's name was known throughout the purple gold galaxy. The major forces could not sit still anymore. Such a top-notch fairy seed was too amazing. After Chu Kuangren returned to the city hall, several forces came to him within a few days, offering him an olive branch. However, he declined all of them. This strand of moon origin energy is indeed extraordinary. Inside the city hall, a white light floated in Chu Kuangren's palm. That was the moon origin energy. When he had killed Zi Tianhen, he had used this source energy. That was why he had been able to kill Zi Tianhen so easily with a single strike. He was very satisfied with the power of this origin energy. This is just a wisp of origin energy. It's hard to imagine how powerful an immortal who has mastered a complete origin energy would be. A complete origin energy was also known as immortal base. It was a power that only immortals could use. I will master that power sooner or later, Chu Kuangren murmured. He retracted the origin energy back into his body. Then, as usual, he started the lottery. In the past few months, he had won many prizes, but most of them were gold and starlight grade items, which were not very useful to him. He had won a few legendary Dao weapons, but now that he had the Descendant Self Sect and the Heavenly Dao weapon for defense, he did not need other Dao weapons at all. Hence, he exchanged these Dao weapons for spiritual marrows at the 3000 firm. Spiritual marrows were considered a hard currency that could be used everywhere. They could also be used during daily cultivation. Now, Elderly of the 3000 firm treated him like he was the god of fortune. He was very enthusiastic and even gave him a 3000 firm VIP card. It was said that only a few customers had such treatment. Congratulations, host, you have won the God tier prize, Divine Wine of Enlightenment. Divine Wine of Enlightenment, wine? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. He had won so many prizes, but this was the first time he had won a wine. And it was a God tier prize? Chu Kuangren took out the prize, and a black wine jar appeared in front of him. It was covered with a red cloth. Just one jar? Chu Kuangren removed the seal on the wine. Suddenly, a dusty aroma of wine burst out. The fragrance of wine permeated the air, enveloping a radius of several hundred miles. Any cultivator who smelled it, even a monarch, would feel dizzy and drunk. Damn, where is this wine aroma coming from? This is too terrifying. What kind of wine is this? Just the fragrance alone is enough to make people so drunk, even the strongest drunken dragon roar in the purple gold galaxy can't reach this level. This is too exaggerated. With the city lord's mansion as the center, the aroma of wine spread for hundreds of miles. Countless cultivators and commoners were drunk and collapsed on the ground. Emperors with stronger cultivations were already wobbling as they walked. In the city hall's manor, some of the maids and servants were so drunk that their faces were flushed red. They were snoring loudly on the ground. In the courtyard, Chu Kuangren was the one who unsealed the wine. The aroma was the most intense, and he felt dizzy. Only after circulating his emperor's qi did he return to normal. TSK, a god-tier wine is indeed extraordinary. Chu Kuangren was amazed. When the aroma of wine had almost dissipated, he then carefully observed the spirit of enlightenment. The wine was as clear as spring water. After the initial aroma of wine had dissipated, only a faint aroma was left. He opened his mouth and inhaled. A mouthful of wine went down his throat and into his stomach. Then, a strong alcohol aroma erupted and rushed to his head. Amidst the explosion, Chu Kuangren's senses seemed to be magnified to the extreme. Everything in the world looked different in his eyes. The spirit of enlightenment. One drop could make one enlightened, and one cup could help one attain Tao. It was an extremely rare wine that could help one achieve enlightenment. This is a great wine. Chu Kuangren looked at the spirit of enlightenment as if he had found a treasure. If I am able to finish this entire jar, I might be able to take a huge step forward in my progress in deducing the two great mysteries. Unfortunately, there's only one jar. Chu Kuangren suddenly thought of something, and his eyes lit up. Shao AI, analyze the ingredients of this spirit of enlightenment for me. Yes, just as Shao AI was analyzing, the Divine Moon Daoist master walked in. He looked at the spirit of enlightenment in Chu Kuangren's hand and could not help but gulp. Brother Chu, what kind of wine is this? Chu Kuangren smiled. The spirit of enlightenment. Brother, would you like a cup? Then it would be impolite of me to decline. The Divine Moon Daoist master laughed. Chu Kuangren took out 2 cups and drank with the Divine Moon Daoist master. There were only a few cups. The Divine Moon Daoist master lay on the table with his face flushed red. The Sky Daoist master was drunk after drinking a few cups of spirit of enlightenment. Chu Kuangren, who was beside him, was also flushed and his eyes were blurred. This wine is F*King strong, Chu Kuangren muttered. If not for his strong physical body, he would not be in a better state than the Divine Moon Daoist master. He sealed the spirit of enlightenment and threw it into his yin and yang ring. A thud was heard. Chu Kuangren also collapsed on the table. About an hour later, Chu Kuangren slowly woke up. He stretched and felt that his understanding of the Tao had improved. Xiao AI, how's the analysis? Analysis complete. That's great. Doesn't that mean I can mass-produce this spirit of enlightenment in the future? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up and he said happily. Among the ingredients for the spirit of enlightenment, there are a few rare spirit fruits. It's not very practical to mass-produce them with the purple gold galaxy's current resources, Xiao AI said. It's fine. It's enough for me to drink for now. Chu Kuangren laughed. Not long after, the Divine Moon Daoist master woke up. This wine is really strong. The Divine Moon Daoist master shook his head. Then, as if he sensed something, his eyes narrowed. My understanding of the Tao has improved. Although it was not much. Still, it was shocking enough. After all, he was the Sky Daoist master. His understanding of the Tao had long stood at the peak of this galaxy. It was very difficult for him to improve. Sometimes, he would only improve a little after tens of thousands of years. But now, a few cups of wine was equivalent to tens of thousands of years of cultivation. F***CK. What kind of wine was this? Was it brewed by the liquor Immortal? Brother Chu, what's going on with this wine? The Divine Moon Daoist master was puzzled. It's a pot of wine that I obtained by chance. Chu Kuangren laughed. The next day, Chu Kuangren arrived at the 3000 firm with the deciphered recipe of the spirit of enlightenment in hand. Along the way, many people were talking about the wine fragrance that came out of nowhere yesterday, and their faces were filled with nostalgia. That wine must have been brewed by an immortal. I was drunk the moment I smelled it. When I woke up, all the questions I couldn't figure out before were solved. Besides the liquor Immortal, who else could do this? A cultivator said with a beaming expression. Many people beside him also had a look of yearning. Chu Kuangren smiled and did not explain. When he arrived at the 3000 firm, he found Elder Li and asked him to help him find the ingredients to brew the spirit of enlightenment. However, these ingredients were extremely rare. Even the 3000 firm was not confident that they could get a lot of them. Chu Kuangren said that he would get as many as he could. He did not lack the spiritual marrow. Chapter 869. Purple Gold Galaxy. Inside a gigantic purple star. Inside a palace. A terrifying aura erupted with anger. The cultivators of Purple Star could not help but shiver as they looked in the direction of the palace. It's been a long time since the Hall Master was this angry. Yeah, it must be because of that matter. Yes, it must be. The sequence has been killed one after another. It would be strange if the Hall Master was not angry. It looks like the Hall Master can't sit still anymore. Ziwei Temple. The strongest orthodoxy of Purple Star. It was also the ruler of Purple Star, the core of the entire civilization. At that moment, a ray of purple light flew out of the palace and exploded in the air. Everyone could not help but be amazed at the sight. The Hall Master has summoned the 4 great protectors. Whoosh, whoosh, several rays of light flew towards the palace. Inside the palace, a golden-robed middle-aged man sat at the top. His purple eyes were filled with anger. This person was the Ziwei Temple Master. At the same time, he was also the Purple Star Lord. Sequence has been killed one after another. What do you guys think? The Ziwei Temple Master said coldly. Below him, the 4 great protectors of Purple Star looked at each other. Poetic Sword Fairy Chu Kuangren must not be allowed to live. If he's allowed to live, the world will forever remember that the Purple Star Celestial Seed was killed by this person. Besides, this person has already formed a feud with the Purple Star Celestial Seed. Before he fully matures, I suggest that we kill him. A white-robed middle-aged man said. There were 4 protectors in Purple Star, namely Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. This white-robed middle-aged man was the strongest Heaven protector with a cultivation level of a Sky Lord. I concur. A black-robed elder said. He was the 2nd-ranked Earth protector. I don't care. If you want to kill me, then kill me. The youthful mysterious protector spoke in a carefree manner. Chu Kuangren must not be allowed to live. The last yellow protector also agreed with the suggestion to kill Chu Kuangren. In fact, the fact that the Ziwei Temple Master had summoned the 4 of them meant that his patience with Chu Kuangren had reached its limit. Not only must we kill Chu Kuangren, we must kill him as a warning. The Firmament Star civilization behind him must be destroyed as well. Let the world understand that those who offend the Purple Star will not have a good ending. Palace Master Ziwei said coldly. The Firmament Star is just an ordinary high-level cultivation civilization. They don't even have many Dao Lords, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Leave the destruction of such a civilization to me. The Yellow Guardian sneered. There was a hint of violence in his eyes. 2 sharp canine teeth protruded from the corner of his mouth, and a faint demonic aura emanated from his body. He was a fierce beast of Purple Star and possessed a cruel nature. When Purple Star expanded outwards, it had destroyed many civilizations, most of which were his doing. I'll leave the task of destroying Firmament Star to you, Enforcer Huang. However, Chu Kuangren must not be left alive after we destroy Firmament Star. Otherwise, once he grows stronger, the consequences will be unimaginable. Hence, this operation to kill Chu Kuangren must be foolproof. Chu Kuangren's biggest backer is the Heavenly Dust Immortal. There's no guarantee that he won't participate in this operation to kill Chu Kuangren. I'll ask the Forefather to hold him back. As for the Mystic Moon Dao Lord and the others who are on good terms with the Heavenly Dust Immortal, I'll leave them to you, Palace Master Ziwei said. Even the Purple Star Forefather, a Heavenly Dust Immortal, was going to be involved. This showed how determined Palace Master Ziwei was to kill Chu Kuangren. All right. The few of them nodded. Then I'll head to the Firmament Star first. Protector Huang said impatiently. Wait. Palace Master Ziwei stopped him. Go to the Firmament Star and investigate Zi Wuheng. Previously, the Blood Origin planet cooperated with us and asked us to help them occupy the Firmament Star. Zi Wuheng was in charge of this, but we lost contact with him some time ago. I suspect that something bad has happened to him. There's something in that place that could threaten the immortal seed? Enforcer Huang was a little surprised. Didn't Chu Kuangren come from the Firmament Star? I think he must have something to do with what happened to Zi Wuheng. Enforcer Xian smirked. That's possible. If that's the case, 3 of our Purple Star sequence cultivators have died in the hands of this person? Enforcer Tian said with a grim expression. Every immortal seed was extremely precious. However, the death of even one of them would normally make their hearts ache. Yet now, 3 of them had died. And it was all done by the same person. This made their killing intent toward Chu Kuangren even more intense. Even with the Heavenly Dust Immortal as a deterrent, they could not hold it in anymore. Count me in for the expedition against Chu Kuangren. At that moment, an indifferent voice rang out. A young man slowly walked into the hall. He was dressed in a luxurious purple robe and had waist-length black hair. Just like Palace Master Ziwei, he had a pair of purple eyes. However, his purple was a little lighter. Your First Highness. Your Highness, are you coming with us? The young man was the first sequence cultivator of Palace Master Ziwei, Zi Shao. He was also the second most powerful immortal seed in the Purple Gold Galaxy. It was said that his cultivation level had reached the Daoist Lord realm a few hundred years ago. His current cultivation level was even more unfathomable. Let's go together. I want to meet this poetic sword sage. Zi Shao nodded slightly. Palace Master Ziwei pondered for a while before she said, "All right, but Chu Kuangren's strength is extraordinary. Be careful. In the entire Purple Gold Galaxy, no one below the Heavenly Dao Master can hurt me." Zi Shao stood with his hands behind his back and said proudly. Ancient Mystic Moon City. After Chu Kuangren had asked the 3,000 firm to help him gather the ingredients to brew the God of Enlightenment wine, he returned to the city hall. He then hugged the God of Enlightenment wine that he had won from the gacha roulette and stayed in his room all day long. When the servants of the city hall passed by that room, they said that they smelled the intoxicating scent of wine. Once they got close to it, they immediately passed out. When he woke up, his cultivation level had greatly increased. This made many people want to give it a try. Later, under the strict orders of the Mystic Moon Daoist Lord, everyone avoided Chu Kuangren's room and did not disturb him. Meanwhile, after Chu Kuangren had set up countless restrictions around his room, he drank half of the God of Enlightenment wine in one go. The strong smell of wine made him lie on the bed as if he was drunk and unconscious. A few cups of this God of Enlightenment wine was enough to make a Heavenly Dao Master drunk. Not to mention that he had drunk half of it. Chu Kuangren felt that his soul was so drunk that it felt like it would leave his physical body and travel the universe in the next moment. He barely managed to keep his consciousness and activated the universal cauldron physique to refine the wine qi in the God of Enlightenment wine, entering an unprecedented state of enlightenment. This time, I must derive a higher level of the technique of invincibility. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. With the help of the three souls and the God of Enlightenment wine. Chu Kuangren's confidence was at an all-time high. Just when he was drunk and unconscious, a crisis was approaching the Mystic Moon Ancient City and Firmament Star. Firmament Star. A ray of light suddenly arrived. Seeing the blue and white star in front of him, Guardian Huang had a cruel look in his eyes. What a beautiful star. If it were to explode in the universe, it would be a beautiful sight. But there's no hurry. Wait for me to go down and have a good time. Then, I'll blow you up and turn you into a firework in the universe. Guardian Huang laughed out loud and then turned into a ray of light. He quickly flew towards Firmament Star, and a violent surge of demonic qi erupted from his body. Firmament Star, your doomsday is here. Chapter 870. Inside Firmament Star. Firmament Kingdom, Black Heaven City, Imperial Palace. Lan Yu, Gu Linglong, the Dharma Daoist Master, and the others seemed to have sensed something as they looked towards the outer realm with shock in their eyes. This aura, is it demonic qi? It's a demonic qi that has never been seen before. And this demonic qi doesn't seem to be friendly. The Dharma Daoist Master and the others gulped. They felt that the demonic qi was so strong that they had never seen it before. Even the Bright Moon Daoist Master's demonic qi, the strongest Daoist Master in Firmament Star, was nothing in front of this demonic qi. It's an enemy. The Sword Dao Lord said with a solemn expression. They could sense that the demonic aura was surging with a violent intent. Since when did Firmament Star offend such a being? D***M*, we've just dealt with the Blood Tribe, and now another terrifying being has appeared. The Dharma Daoist master gritted his teeth. Don't worry, leave it to me. A calm voice came from the depths of the imperial palace. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. A wooden puppet slowly walked out from the imperial palace. That was left behind by the king before he left. Is that a battle puppet? Everyone was stunned as they saw countless Daoist patterns on the battle puppet's body before it transformed into Chu Kuangren's appearance. King! It's the king! Chu Kuangren looked towards the outer realm with a cold look in his eyes. He then said, "You guys stay here, I'll be back soon." As soon as he finished speaking, he flew into the sky. Meanwhile, a golden ray of light shot out from the imperial palace. Amidst the flowing light was a large golden seal. It was the human ruler's seal. Aside from leaving the heavenly Dao battle puppet on Firmament Star, Chu Kuangren had also left the human ruler's seal behind to increase the battle puppet's offensive capabilities. In the outer realm, majestic demonic qi surged towards Firmament Star. Suddenly, Guardian Huang let out a soft gasp of surprise. He saw a faint golden Daoist pattern circulating outside the atmosphere of Firmament Star. Is this a formation? A formation that covers the entire star. I can't believe a tiny firmament star could come up with such a formation. Do you think this formation can stop me? Dream on. Guardian Huang sneered. Demonic qi erupted as he punched out with his palm. The dark red demonic qi transformed into the image of a gigantic blood-red wolf that tore through the air. The power of this strike was extremely terrifying, enough to shatter stars. Protector Huang believed that the great formation of morning parting heaven would not be able to withstand the attack. As expected, the entire formation trembled under the pressure of the blood wolf. Prepare to be crushed. Guardian Huang sneered. However, at that moment, within the heavenly formation of parting hatred, a golden flowing light suddenly flew out and turned into a large seal that was comparable to a star. With a loud bang, the blood wolf smashed into the seal. The great seal trembled, and the blood wolf directly dispersed. That's a fortune treasure. Guardian Huang was slightly shocked. The treasure of providence was a treasure condensed from the providence of a civilization or race. The stronger the civilization or race, the more powerful the treasure. In the universe, it was an extremely rare treasure. There's a formation that covers the entire planet, and now there's a treasure of fortune. This firmament star really surprises me. Guardian Huang grinned. He stared at the golden seal that kept shrinking until it was the size of a palm. It then floated above the head of a white-robed young man. You're Chu Kuangren? Guardian Huang's pupils shrunk. He had seen Chu Kuangren's image before, and he looked exactly like this white-robed young man. No, Chu Kuangren should still be in the Mystic Moon ancient city. Why would he appear here? And your aura? There's no sign of life. This strange aura is a battle puppet. Your consciousness is attached to this battle puppet. As the Heavenly Lord of the Purple Star sect, Guardian Huang was knowledgeable enough to quickly determine that Chu Kuangren was only a battle puppet. But this powerful aura belongs to the Heavenly Lord. How can there be such a powerful battle puppet in the firmament star? Guardian Huang was a little shocked. There were only a few Heavenly Lord level battle puppets in the entire Purple Star sect. How could the firmament star have such technology? You've been talking to yourself since just now. Are you an idiot? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Guardian Huang's face darkened. How dare a mere battle puppet be so arrogant? Today, I'll destroy you and the entire firmament star. A majestic demonic qi erupted from his body, and the surrounding starlight gathered around him. Then, a gigantic blood-colored wolf lunged at him. However, this time, with the help of the starlight, its power was even stronger. Oh, this cultivation technique. You're from the Purple Star sect. Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, and the battle puppet's energy erupted into the human ruler's seal, shattering the blood-colored wolf. Then, he clenched his fist and unleashed a punch. The profound art of invincibility was unleashed. Heaven and earth reversal. The fist energy swept across the sky and blasted towards Guardian Huang. Break it! Guardian Huang unleashed a claw attack. When the two energies collided, the void exploded. Guardian Huang's clothes were torn apart by that attack, and he was forced to retreat. His eyes narrowed. This battle puppet is so strong. He let out a long roar, bent his body, and began to expand. Finally, he turned into a giant blood-colored wolf that was hundreds of meters tall. His majestic demonic chi wreaked havoc in the starry sky. "Oh, you've transformed into your true form," Chu Kuangren said. "Roar." With a long roar, the blood-colored wolf opened its mouth, and the surrounding starlight surged towards it. A large amount of starlight energy was compressed and condensed into a gigantic ball of light. The ball of light shot out, leaving a trail of light in the starry sky. Like a meteor, it headed straight for Chu Kuangren. Invincible technique, Heaven's Vortex. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and activated the battle puppet's energy. Daoist patterns intertwined in his palm, forming a vortex that blocked the ball of light. The energy within the ball of light was continuously disintegrated and dissipated. Then, from the vortex, a ray of starlight shot out and smashed towards the blood-colored wolf. He reflected my energy back at me. The blood-colored wolf's expression changed slightly. He smashed the blood-colored ball of light with his claw. "Humph, your battle puppet strength is at most on par with mine. If I destroy it with all my might, do you think you can protect Firmament Star?" The blood-colored wolf sneered. He pushed his demonic chi to its limit, and a large amount of starlight gathered around him, forming balls of light. Although it was not as powerful as the previous attack, there were more of them. More importantly, the blood-colored wolf's target was not Chu Kuangren. It was the Firmament Star that was behind him. No matter how strong Chu Kuangren was, it was impossible for him to block that many attacks. However, he did not panic. "I might not be able to do it alone. But who said I don't have help?" Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then, a large amount of golden light gathered around him, forming a small golden man that was half the height of a human. The blood-colored wolf's eyes narrowed when he saw that small golden man. "This is the Heavenly Tao. The Firmament Star's Heavenly Tao. You can activate the Heavenly Tao. You're the Firmament Star Lord." A Star Lord was a cultivator who was recognized by the Heavenly Tao of a star and could use the Heavenly Tao's energy. Not every living star could give birth to a Star Lord. Only a few lucky ones could be recognized by the Heavenly Tao. Chapter 871. In the outer space of Firmament Star, the battle puppet Chu Kuangren was battling against the Purple Star Protector. The powerful shockwaves from their battle shook half the sky. Just as Enforcer Huang was about to charge past Chu Kuangren and attack Firmament Star, the Firmament Star's Heavenly Tao suddenly appeared. "Fuse," Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The Heavenly Tao's little golden man then merged into Chu Kuangren's body, causing the battle puppet's strength to skyrocket once again. A terrifying aura shook the starry sky, causing the blood-red wolf's pupils to shrink. "Heavenly Tao blessing," the crimson giant wolf said solemnly. Then, it roared and shot out the countless light balls behind it. Countless light orbs rained down on Firmament Star like a meteor shower. Even if the Firmament Star was protected by the hateful parting formation, it would not be able to withstand all the attacks. At the very least, a few states would be destroyed. However, Chu Kuangren would never let that happen. Human Ruler Seal. With a soft grunt, Chu Kuangren pushed the battle puppet's power to its limit and continuously channeled it into the Human Ruler's Seal. The Man Ruler's Seal blossomed with a resplendent brilliance. Millions of rays of golden light surged out, covering the sky and covering the earth, forming a huge light screen in front of him. Countless meteors were blocked by the light barrier. How could this be? The Crimson Wolf cried out in alarm. The power unleashed by Chu Kuangren's fusion with the heavenly Tao had far surpassed him, and it was not just by a little bit. No, I can't stay here anymore. Although the Crimson Wolf was violent, it did not want to seek its own death. Its bestial instincts told it that if it continued to stay here, it would die. Do you really think that you can come and go as you please in Firmament Star? Chu Kuangren could tell what the Crimson Giant Wolf was thinking and sneered. The man-ruler seal flew out and grew with the wind. Very quickly, it expanded to the size of a small planet, emitting a monstrous pressure. A powerful sealing force erupted, sealing off the surrounding starry sky, leaving the Crimson Wolf with nowhere to run. No, I can't die here. The blood-red wolf howled crazily. The demonic aura attacked the sealing power of the seal of the human ruler. However, it was useless. His gigantic body seemed extremely tiny in front of the human ruler seal. There was a loud bang. The man-ruler seal smashed onto the giant blood-colored wolf. The giant wolf's body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. A lord of the Tao of Heaven had fallen. The man-ruler seal quickly shrunk to the size of a palm. Chu Kuangren held the human ruler's seal in his hand and looked into the distance. The Purple Star tribe has begun their operation. My real body, you must be careful. What he had left on the puppet of the heavenly law was only a wisp of his will. However, not too long ago, he lost contact with Chu Kuangren's consciousness when he went into closed-door meditation after drinking the divine enlightenment wine. Let's go back first. Chu Kuangren turned around and returned to Firmament Star. Ancient mystic Moon City. In the City Lord's mansion, the divine Moon Tao Lord suddenly opened his eyes. He looked towards the outer realm with a solemn expression. What a powerful aura! There are so many people approaching Xianxia ancient city. His monarch will surged as he extended his perception toward the starry sky. In the starry sky, tens of thousands of warships were heading towards mystic moon ancient city. Through the symbols on these warships, the divine moon sect master recognized that these warships were all from Purple Star. Purple Star suddenly launched a large-scale attack. Are they targeting fellow Daoist Chu? No, I must inform the void immortal mortal heaven. He alone could not stop the Purple Star army. Not only the divine Moon Tao Lord, but most of the strong cultivators in the mystic moon ancient city had also sensed the powerful aura of the incoming cultivators. Purple Star's sudden invasion must be because of poetic sword sage Chu Kuangren. Mystic moon ancient city is in danger. Sigh, the mystic moon ancient city has a jinx. How is the divine Moon Tao Lord going to deal with this? Everyone in the mystic moon ancient city was panicking. At that moment, outside the ancient city, an indifferent voice came from afar. Those who have nothing to do with Chu Kuangren, leave the mystic moon ancient city immediately. That was the voice of the Purple Star Protector. Everyone was stunned when they heard that voice. Then, the crowd burst into an uproar. They quickly packed their belongings and left the mystic moon ancient city in streams of light. In less than half a day, the once bustling ancient city became deserted. The streets were empty, and not a single person could be seen. In the city lord's mansion, the divine Moon Tao Lord snorted. Then, with a flick of his sleeves, a powerful surge of energy emerged and spread in all directions. Suddenly, Daoist patterns intertwined around the ancient city, and 4 light pillars rose into the sky. In the blink of an eye, they formed a giant light barrier that covered the entire city. That was the ancient city's defensive formation. Purple Star, if you want to play, then I'll play with you till the end. The divine Moon Tao Lord's eyes were cold. In the starry sky, tens of thousands of battleships. On one of the giant battleships, a purple-robed young man looked at the golden light barrier in front of him with a playful look in his eyes. Oh, a defensive formation? But how long can it hold off my Purple Star Army? Beside him, the white-robed middle-aged Sky Protector walked up. Your Highness, it's ready. Shall we attack? There's no rush. The purple firmament said calmly. He flew to the sky above the mystic moon ancient city and looked down at the glorious city below. He channeled his emperor's qi, and his voice spread throughout the entire ancient city. The Purple Star Army is here to kill Chu Kuangren. If the Divine Moon Dao Lord hands this person over, the Purple Star Army will let you go. In the mystic moon ancient city, there were still some aristocratic families and orthodoxies that had not left. Their base was here, so it was not easy for them to leave. When they heard the purple firmament's words, they were tempted. It's not worth it to sacrifice the entire ancient city just for Chu Kuangren. Ask the city lord to hand him over. A white-haired old man said coldly. He was the Wang family's forefather. One of the few sky lords in the mystic moon ancient city. Upon hearing his words, the strong cultivators in the mystic moon ancient city agreed and rushed to the city lord's residence. City lord, please hand Chu Kuangren over. That's right. The Purple Star Army is coming at us fiercely. It's not something we can fight against. Only by handing Chu Kuangren over can we protect the mystic moon ancient city. That's right. City Lord, please look at the bigger picture. The Divine Moon Daolord's expression did not change in the face of the crowd's persuasion. If it were a few months ago, he might have been persuaded to give up Chu Kuangren just because of the Heavenly Dust Immortal's favor. However, things were different now. Aside from the Heavenly Dust Immortal's relationship, Chu Kuangren had also helped his daughter awaken her immortal physique. He had yet to repay that great favor. There's no need to say anything more. Brother Chu is under my protection. If any of you wish to leave, please do so. The Divine Moon Dao Lord said. The Wang family's forefather snorted coldly. You're the city lord of a city, yet you don't know how to appreciate the bigger picture. The Wang family will not accompany you to your death. Farewell. Because of Chu Kuangren, the Wang family and the Divine Moon Dao Lord had a grudge against each other. Now that the Purple Star Army was attacking, it was impossible for the Wang family to fight for the mystic moon ancient city. The Wang family's forefather turned around and left. Looking at the mighty Purple Star Army in outer space, a strange look appeared in his eyes. Perhaps I can use this opportunity to befriend the Purple Star Army. Aside from the Wang family's forefather, the other orthodoxies looked at each other. In the end, only a few of them were willing to stay. Chapter 872. Dust Sky Star. Dust Sky Immortal received a message from Path Master Shenyu. His eyes flashed coldly. Oh, Purple Star has made a move and it's an army. Heh, what a big move. Looks like it's time for me to exercise my old bones. He slowly stood up. A strong hollow immortal energy spread out. But in the next instant, an equally strong hollow immortal energy came from the sky. A coffin made entirely of purple gold flew down from the sky and smashed into the purple star like a meteor. Hollow immortal energy spread out from the coffin. Dust Sky Immortal's pupils constricted. This coffin. Humph, I didn't expect you to come. Dust Sky Immortal snorted coldly. Creak. The coffin opened. A skinny old man wearing a purple luxurious robe walked out. His turbid eyes shone brightly as he looked at Dust Sky Immortal and said calmly, Friend Chen Tian, long time no see. You still look so healthy. I really envy you. Virtual Immortal Chen Tian said coldly, enough with the pleasantries. You, a guy with half your body in the grave, suddenly appeared. What's the matter? I had a sudden impulse and wanted to discuss the Tao with you. Heh, discuss the Tao? You want to stop me from going to Xianxia ancient city? Dust Sky Immortal sneered. Is that celestial seed worth you working so hard? The skinny old man asked. In this world, it doesn't matter if it's worth it or not. It's just whether I want to or not. A long sword with green light flowing around it appeared in Dust Sky Immortal's hand. He raised his hand and a majestic sword energy slashed out. The skinny old man moved his mind. The coffin automatically blocked in front of him. With a bang, the entire Dust Sky star shook. Huge cracks spread out with the two of them at the center. Please advise me. Hollow immortal energy flowed around the skinny old man's body. A battle between hollow immortals erupted. Shenhua City. The Dao Master of the Divine Moon sect looked at the few Dao Masters who were willing to stay with him with gratitude in his eyes. Thank you all. City Lord, there is no need to thank me. Back then, when I was being chased by my enemies, it was you who saved me. Furthermore, you allowed me to establish a sect in Mystic Moon Ancient City. I have yet to repay this kindness. The burly man in yellow robes laughed heartily. Beside him, a cold lady glanced at the Daoist Lord and said, I'm staying here for the sake of my lunar palace and my disciples, not for you or Chu Kuangren. Don't overthink it. This woman was the master of the Moon Palace, a heavenly Dao Lord. The Daoist master of the Divine Moon sect had known the other party for many years and knew that the other party was a sharp-tongued but soft-hearted person. Thus, he did not say much and silently kept his gratitude in his heart. The others were also people who had a good relationship with the Divine Moon Dao Lord. In the sky above Mystic Moon Ancient City, Zixiao had a panoramic view of what was happening in the city and said indifferently, it seems that you have made your decision. He gently raised his hand. Behind him, countless warships aimed their cannons at the ancient city. The light of the Dao pattern circulated. Streams of energy were gathering. Unfortunately, you have chosen a dead end. Zixiao waved his hand. Instantly, beams of light shot out from the cannons of the warships. Boom, 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 the energy beams were like a torrential downpour, continuously landing on the Mystic Moon Ancient City's golden light barrier, causing a series of explosions. The entire golden barrier rippled. The great battle had begun. At that moment, the Wang family's forefather came before Purple Firmament. He cupped his fists and said, my Wang family has a grudge against Chu Kuangren. I'm willing to do my part to fight against Chu Kuangren and lead the way for your highness. Upon seeing that, Zixiao nodded. It seems that not everyone in the Mystic Moon Ancient City is stupid. There are still some smart ones. Just like that. The Wang family's forefather joined the Purple Star Army in the battle against the Mystic Moon Ancient City. The Mystic Moon Ancient City's defensive formation was very strong, but the Purple Star Army was no joke either. Under the continuous bombardment of tens of thousands of energy beams, the great formation was already on the verge of collapse. Prepare for battle. The Divine Moon Dao Lord said coldly. With a sword in his hand, a majestic sword pressure suddenly erupted. At that moment, not far away, a streak of sword light flew over and actually resonated with his sword pressure. Who is this? The Divine Moon Dao Lord was puzzled. He did not sense any hostility from that sword ray. Could it be that this person was not from the Purple Star Army? I'm Yang Shao. I'm here to help the Mystic Moon Ancient City. A heroic voice came from within the sword ray. A handsome middle-aged man with graying temples came before the Purple Star Army, raised his sword, and a majestic sword ray whistled out. Dozens of warships were destroyed by that sword ray. Yang Shao? Yang Shao from the Royal Heaven Sword Sect. The Purple Star Sky Guardian said coldly, even the Royal Heaven Sword Sect wants to interfere in this matter. Aren't you afraid of the Purple Star's revenge? I once owed the ethereal immortal mortal heaven a favor, and I'm only here today to return the favor. My actions have nothing to do with the Royal Heaven Sword Sect. If you want revenge, just come after me. Yang Shao laughed. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and his sword pressure swept out like a tidal wave. Below, The divine Moon Dao Lord was delighted to see that. Yang Shao was a Heaven Dao Lord. With his help, the mystic Moon Ancient City had a much higher chance of winning. Whoosh, 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 at that moment. In outer space, rays of light flew over. Each ray of light contained a different Daoist fluctuation, but they all emitted an incredibly powerful Daolord's aura. The Lion Ridge Daolord is here to help the mystic Moon Ancient City. Yun Shaotian is here to protect the poetic sword sage, Chu Kuangren. I, the loose cultivator and Tian, am here to join in the fun too. One after another, names were announced. Each of them was a strong cultivator in the purple gold galaxy, and now, all of them were here to protect Chu Kuangren. Everyone was left speechless. They understood that these people were not here to protect Chu Kuangren, but to return the favor to the ethereal immortal mortal heaven. The ethereal immortal mortal heaven is too prestigious in the purple gold galaxy. Many strong cultivators here owe him a favor. That's right. Take Yang Shao for example. Rumor has it that he was also an immortal seed back then. The demonic sky sword in his hand was forged by the ethereal immortal mortal heaven, and it has accompanied him in battle until now. The ethereal immortal mortal heaven's network is too strong. The spectators outside the mystic Moon Ancient City were amazed. The celestial Moon Daoist and the others were overjoyed. As expected of the ethereal immortal mortal heaven. Besides him, who else could gather so many strong cultivators from all over? The celestial Moon Daoist laughed. On the other hand, the strong cultivators from the Purple Star Alliance looked extremely gloomy. This ethereal immortal mortal heaven is really troublesome. The Sky Guardian snorted coldly. Even he did not expect the ethereal immortal mortal heaven to be so powerful that he could weave such a network without anyone noticing. Purple Star Alliance, do you still want to fight? Yang Shao stood with his hands behind his back. Behind him were the strong cultivators who came to repay the ethereal immortal mortal heaven's favor. A burst of laughter was heard. Purple Firmament took a step forward and said coldly, "A bunch of trash wants to fight against the Purple Star Alliance. Today, no matter who comes, Chu Kuangren must die. Kill." The order was given. The strong cultivators from the Purple Star Alliance immediately flew out from the warship. Waves of domineering aura filled the sky above the mystic Moon City. "Then let's fight," Yang Shao said indifferently. With a twist of his sword, a majestic sword chi erupted. Chapter 873. The sounds of battle rang out. The powerhouses of Purple Star also made their move. Among them, the most eye-catching were the three protectors of Purple Star. All three of them were Heaven Law Masters. In addition to these two, there was a man and a woman, dressed in black and white robes respectively. These two were also Heaven Dao Masters. They were a pair of Dao companions, the famous black and white stars of Purple Star. In addition to the Wang family's old ancestor, the Purple Star Alliance now had 6 Heaven Path Masters. On the other hand, the ancient city of Mystic Moon. The Divine Moon Sect Master, the Moon Palace Master, Yang Shao, and an old man with a cane. Only 4 of them were Heaven Law Masters. The number of other Path Masters was about the same. However, one Heaven Law Master was equivalent to dozens of Great Path Masters, so someone had to restrain the remaining 2 Heaven Law Masters of Purple Star. "Leave the black and white stars to me," Yang Shao said to the Divine Moon Sect Master with his monarch consciousness. "Are you sure you can face 2 Heaven Law Masters at the same time?" "Don't worry, I can." Yang Shao nodded. "Then there's one more Heaven Law Master. Who will restrain him?" "Don't worry, leave it to me," the Divine Moon Sect Master said. Yang Shao's eyes lit up. The sword in his hand trembled slightly, and an unyielding battle intent erupted. "Then, let's fight." Whoosh! Yang Shao took a step forward and rushed toward the black and white stars. He swung his sword, and a surging sword light poured out. While Yang Xiao was fighting the black and white stars, the other Heaven Law Masters also made their moves. They had tacitly chosen their own opponents. The Moon Palace Master faced the Earth Protector. The old man with the cane faced the mysterious Protector. He waved his hands, and countless vines flew out and danced wildly in the void. "Humph, you're courting death." The Heaven Protector, who was second only to Hall Master Ziwei, snorted coldly. He gripped his spear and stepped forward, a violent aura swirling around him. At that moment, a stream of light appeared in front of him. It was the Divine Moon Sect Master. "Purple Star Heaven Protector, come and fight me." The sword and spear collided. Terrifying energy poured out like a torrential flood. Just as he was locked in battle with the Purple Star Heavenly Protector, the Wang family's forefather, who was not too far away, looked towards the direction of the city hall with a glint in his eyes. "Let's break this formation first, then drag Chu Kuangren out." At this moment, the masters of the Heaven Law were fighting on their own. No one could stop him. The Emperor's chi within his body surged and intertwined with Daoist patterns. A terrifying domineering aura circulated as he raised his hand, ready to destroy the formation and drag Chu Kuangren out. However, at this very moment, the Divine Moon Path Master, who was fighting with the Purple Star Sky Protector, shot out several beams of sword light toward the Wang family patriarch. Sensing the sword light, the old ancestor of the Wang family snorted coldly, "You want to hold me back while fighting with the Purple Star Heavenly Protector? You are too naive." He raised his hand and blasted a palm at the sword light. The sword and the palm collided, and the sword light shattered. But in the next moment, the shattered sword light turned into countless fine sword chi, intertwining in the void to form a sword chi cage. The patriarch of the Wang family was trapped within and his expression changed slightly. He struck the sword chi cage with his palm. However, with a bang, the palm chi collapsed, but the sword chi was unscathed. "What kind of strange technique is this?" the Wang family patriarch said in a low voice. "Patriarch of the Wang family, just stay in that sword chi cage." The Divine Moon Path Master sneered. The confinement sword chi was one of his most powerful sword techniques. This sword technique did not have high lethality, but it excelled in trapping people. Even cultivators of the same cultivation realm as him would find it difficult to break free in a short time. "Humph, how long do you think you can trap me with just sword chi?" The Wang family patriarch snorted. He unleashed one palm attack after another. Every time he unleashed a palm attack, the sword chi cage would weaken. Just as the masters of the Heaven Law were unleashing their techniques, the other Daoists were also engaged in battle. Terrifying energy fluctuations erupted one after another. The Purple Star First Sequence, Purple Firmament, stood in the air with a cold expression. He could not intervene in the battle between the masters of the Heaven Law. Instead, he commanded the warship behind him to continuously fire energy beams at the Mystic Moon Ancient City's Great Formation. Capture their leader first. Purple Firmament is the first sequence, and his position in the Purple Star is very important. As long as we subdue him, we will have bargaining chips with the Purple Star. A burly man's eyes sparkled. His figure flashed, and he turned into a stream of light. He dodged the attacks of several great Dao masters and flew toward Purple Firmament. His speed was extremely fast, and he appeared in front of Purple Firmament in the blink of an eye. "Bow down." The burly man shouted coldly. His late-stage Great Dao Master Cultivation base was completely unleashed. Terrifying Emperor Chi swept out and turned into a giant golden hand that grabbed at Purple Firmament. "Fool!" Purple Firmament snorted. Endless starlight flowed around his body. The giant golden hand landed on the starlight, but it could not get even half a step closer. Galaxy Annihilation. Purple Firmament raised his hand and activated an immortal technique. Thousands of starlight gathered in his palm and formed a starlight vortex. Within the vortex, there seemed to be a galaxy surging out. The giant golden hand was shattered by the galaxy. The burly man was sent flying while vomiting blood. How can he be so powerful? The burly man's expression changed. Before he could recover from his shock, a figure appeared above him like a ghost. It was Purple Firmament. He raised his hand gently, and starlight shone in his palm. His palm fell like a huge star falling from the sky at high speed, and it smashed into the great Tao Master's head. Bang! The burly man's head exploded, and blood splattered everywhere. This scene caused the powerhouses of Xianxia ancient city to secretly exclaim. Is this the power of Purple Firmament Sequence 1? He can kill a great Tao Master so easily. This is too terrifying. As expected of one of the two strongest in the Purple Gold Galaxy. I'm afraid no one below the Heavenly Tao Master can hurt him. Everyone was extremely fearful. Even the other sequence Purple Firmament Celestial Seeds were secretly shocked. So powerful. This is the power of a Sequence 1. A few hundred years ago, he could easily kill someone of the same level as him when he first became a great Tao Master. Now, his strength has improved a lot. Even a Sequence 2 is far from being his match. Purple Firmament stood in the air with a proud expression. He stared at the ancient mystic Moon City Lord's residence. Poetic Sword God Chu Kuangren, how long are you going to hide? Are you still not coming out? No one responded to him. What a shame. These people came to protect you, but who would have thought that they would protect a coward who doesn't even dare to come out and fight? Purple Firmament continued to sneer. Inside the city lord's residence, it was still silent. Boom, boom, only the rumbling sounds of energy beams hitting the great formation could be heard. At that moment, the ancient mystic Moon City's great formation finally could not hold on any longer. Cracks began to appear on it, and with a loud bang, the great formation shattered. Beams of energy beams smashed into the ancient city. Countless buildings were destroyed. Lock onto the city lord's residence. Purple Firmament sneered. The warship's cannons turned and aimed at the city lord's residence. Beams of energy beams rained down, blasting the city lord's residence into a mess. If the mystic Moon Daoist had not arranged for Tang Haitang and the others to a safe place, there would have been countless casualties. While the rest of the buildings in the city lord's residence were being destroyed, there was one room that remained unscathed. That room was surrounded by mysterious Daoist patterns that blocked off all the energy beams. Oh, is that where you are? Chapter 874. Oh, so that's where you're at? Zi Shao stared at the restricted room in the city hall and sneered. He then raised his hand and ordered everyone to attack it. Beams of energy landed on the restricted room like raindrops. Even the mystic Moon Ancient City's great defensive formation couldn't stop the continuous attacks, so this restriction naturally couldn't do anything. After a round of attacks, 30% of the restricted room was destroyed. However, that was still shocking enough. Only this much? Zi Shao could not help but frown. The mystic Moon Ancient City's defensive formation was built with countless resources, but this restricted room was obviously created by a single person. Only 30% of it was destroyed after being attacked by tens of thousands of battleships? Continue to attack. After the battleships were recharged, the energy beams continued to explode. 40%. 50%. 70%. 80%. In next to no time, 80% of the restrictions were destroyed, and the remaining 20% were dim like a thin piece of paper that could be broken with a single poke. The mystic Moon Daoist master and the others panicked when they saw that. However, they were occupied by their respective opponents and could not help at all. The battleship's energy beams stopped. The energy beams could not be fired at any time as they required energy. Now, all the battleships were recharging their energy. One more round and the restricted room would be completely destroyed. The person inside the restricted room was no exception. Soon, the battleships were fully charged. All that was left was for Zi Shao to give the order. Chu Kuangren, I know you're here. Why don't you come out? Come out and let me see what the poetic sword sage is capable of. Zi Shao said indifferently. His eyes were filled with battle intent. He really wanted to see how strong this newly risen fairy seed was. Still, no one answered. Vaguely, a light snoring sound came from the room. It was as if someone was sleeping. Everyone present had a high cultivation level and strong senses, so they could hear the light snoring clearly. At that moment, everyone had a strange expression on their faces. The battle outside was in full swing. Yet the person inside was sleeping? Did he not respect them at all? Could he please respect us? Even Zi Shao could not help but turn pale with anger. He snorted. You deserve to die in your sleep. He raised his hand, signaling for the attack to continue. The cannons of the battleship had Dao patterns flowing on them. Beams of energy light shot out like raindrops, piercing through the void and blasting into the room. This wave of attacks was enough to destroy the last 20% of the seal. At the same time, he would raise that place to the ground. Not good. The divine moon Dao Lord exclaimed. But at this moment, all around, the wind stilled and the clouds ceased. In a trance, everyone heard the soft snoring in the room stop. Subsequently, a peerlessly powerful and majestic emperor energy erupted from within the room, and it swept out in all directions like raging waves. The room was shattered by the emperor Qi, and the restrictions automatically disintegrated. The beams of energy that shot towards the other party were all destroyed by the emperor Qi. Under the terrifying impact of the energy, smoke and dust rose everywhere. What happened? What a terrifying monarch aura! Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Everyone stopped fighting and stared at the room that was filled with smoke and dust. Streams of emperor will swept over in that direction. When the smoke and dust dissipated, everyone could only see a bed in the dust. On the bed, there was a person sleeping on it. That person was Chu Kuangren. F***ck me. This person is really sleeping. Everyone was dumbfounded. What the F***ck is going on? Chu Kuangren, who was lying on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes, as if he had not fully woken up yet. However, everyone suddenly sensed a peerlessly powerful and terrifying ripple spreading out from the other party's body. That ripple also contained an indescribable profundity. Is this an immortal technique fluctuation? Purple Firmament and the other immortal seeds who knew immortal techniques could not help but be shocked. However, what happened next shocked everyone even more. Mysterious Daoist fluctuation spread from Chu Kuangren's body, and it evolved into magnificent transformations. There were heavenly fire meteors, mountains burning, frost falling, ice sealing thousands of miles, and thousands of soldiers hovering in the air. As the transformations continued to evolve, the Daoist fluctuations on Chu Kuangren's body became more and more intense, so much so that everyone's heart skipped a beat. At the same time, the heavens and earth shook, and waves of mysterious Daoist rhymes came from the depths of the universe. Thousands of golden lotuses surrounded Chu Kuangren. The spiritual qi of the heavens and earth surged, forming an incredibly mysterious rune-like mark on top of Chu Kuangren's head. This is the technique validation seal. A knowledgeable expert swallowed his saliva and couldn't help but exclaim. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The rest of the Sky Dao Master and the others were also horrified. Daoist rhymes, technique validation seal. How is this possible? Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Some of the cultivators even shook their heads in disbelief. The scene left many cultivators scratching their heads in confusion. What's wrong with these cultivators? The technique validation seal is something that can only be formed by the great Daoist will of the universe. It can only appear when a certain cultivator creates a brand new and powerful cultivation technique. The Sacred Moon Daoist master said with a trembling voice, to form the technique validation seal, the cultivation technique must at least be an immortal technique. At this moment, everyone understood. However, they were all dumbfounded. They looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. In other words, Chu Kuangren has created his own immortal technique. Everyone was speechless when they heard that. Following that, the sound of people gasping could be heard one after another. The immortal seeds were especially shaken as they stared at the bedridden Chu Kuangren. Their Daoist core was on the verge of collapsing. They were still struggling to become immortals. However, Chu Kuangren had created his own immortal technique. That was something only an immortal could do. Just when everyone was shocked speechless, the spiritual chi in the surroundings surged again and another technique validation seal was formed. 2 technique validation seals. How is this possible? 2 immortal techniques. He created 2 immortal techniques in one go. How is this possible? The Purple Star Heavenly Protector's pupils trembled violently. Creating a celestial art on his own was already enough to stun everyone. However, Chu Kuangren had created 2 of them. Poetic Sword Fairy, is he really an immortal? Someone murmured. Initially, many doubted Chu Kuangren's title as an immortal, but now, no one doubted it anymore. He had created 2 immortal techniques in one go. Even if he could not become an immortal now, he would definitely become one in the future. It was only a matter of time. What a nice dream. Chu Kuangren murmured. After he finished drinking the divine enlightenment wine, he used the wine's qi to gain insights on the technique of invincibility. As the divine enlightenment wine was too strong, he felt like he was in a dream during the process. A dream about Taoism and techniques. The good news was, he had succeeded. He had successfully deduced the technique of invincibility to the level of an immortal technique. The transformations around him gradually dissipated. The 2 technique validation seals flew into Chu Kuangren's body. He could feel the powerful fluctuations contained in the technique validation seals. It was another opportunity of fortune. Chapter 875. Alright, it's time to deal with you guys. Chu Kuangren rested his head on his bed with his left hand and chuckled as he looked at the purple star cultivators before him. Although he had just woken up and was still confused about the situation, his emperor's thought quickly scanned the battlefield and roughly understood what was going on. Don't you think it's rude to disturb my sweet dreams? Chu Kuangren yawned and said. The purple star cultivators were shocked to see him in such a lackadaisical manner. They glared at him with eyes that were about to spit fire. Their great army and several Sky Dao masters had arrived, but to Chu Kuangren, they were merely disturbing his sweet dreams. It was as if this guy did not take them seriously at all. Let's go. So what if he can create his own immortal technique? He's just a Daoist master who hasn't ascended to immortality yet. One of the Daoist masters yelled. He then dashed towards Chu Kuangren in a flash. That's right, he hasn't ascended to immortality yet, so what's with his arrogance? Humph, go to hell. The Daoist masters charged towards Chu Kuangren. This time, the higher-ups of the Purple Star Alliance had ordered that whoever managed to kill Chu Kuangren would be rewarded handsomely. Even the Sky Dao masters would be tempted by those rewards. Sword rays, fist chi, palm chi, all sorts of energies and mysteries were unleashed towards Chu Kuangren. Heh, you guys are still too weak to kill me. Chu Kuangren lay on his bed and took the attack. He held his head with one hand and gently lifted the other. Emperor's chi gushed out from his palm and turned into a purple vortex. Within the vortex, mysterious Daoist patterns circulated. An immortal technique fluctuation emanated. It was the invincible technique, Heaven's Vortex. This technique was now an immortal technique. Moreover, it was an immortal technique that was most compatible with Chu Kuangren's Tao. As the vortex appeared, the sword rays, fist chi, and other energies were all absorbed and neutralized. The Daoist masters could not hurt Chu Kuangren at all. How is this possible? Is this his self-created immortal technique? Retreat. The Daoist masters' pupils dilated as they tried to retreat. However, they soon realized that they were already enveloped by a surge of qi. Retreat? Where can I retreat to? Chu Kuangren gently waved his palms, and a burst of saber light and fist qi shot out from the vortex. It was the technique that the Tao Lords had used to attack him. Pay them back in their own coin. Not only that. With the help of Chu Kuangren's Emperor's qi, these attacks were even more terrifying. A few Tao Lords could not dodge in time and were blasted into a mist of blood on the spot. This move silenced the entire battlefield. The wind blew, rolling up the bead curtain. Chu Kuangren slowly got up and got off the bed. He raised his hand and took out a gorgeous white robe from the clothes rack beside him. Then, in front of the countless soldiers, he put on his clothes unhurriedly. His attire was neat and tidy, and he fastened his Kunwu robe. Chu Kuangren took a step forward. With a flick of his sleeves, an immense domineering aura gushed out like a torrential flood in all directions, causing the cultivators at the scene to shudder in fear. Are you ready? I can be quite grumpy when I wake up. Chu Kuangren glanced at the crowd and smiled. With the help of the omniscient spirit, Shao Ai, he could tell at a glance which side was here to kill him and who was here to help him. Everyone, prepare to face the enemy. One of the Tao Lords said in fear. But in the next moment, Chu Kuangren, who was originally in front of everyone, disappeared. The Tao Lord who was yelling to face the enemy narrowed his eyes. Where is he? Here. Behind him, a chuckle was heard. Before the Tao Lord could turn around and escape, he felt a sudden chill on his neck. Then, he felt the world spin around him, and he saw a headless corpse. Isn't that my body? The Tao Lord thought in confusion. Then, his consciousness disappeared into the darkness. After Chu Kuangren had beheaded a Tao Lord, the descendant self-sword in his hand emanated an incredibly sharp and cold sword qi. Kill! A loud roar was heard. The Purple Star sect's cultivators charged towards Chu Kuangren in a frenzy. Come, let's kill each other. Chu Kuangren did not retreat. Instead, he faced the crowd of cultivators head-on. He waved the descendant's self-sword in his hand, and sword rays flashed. One by one, the cultivators were either beheaded or torn in half by his sword qi. My Lord Zhao wears the tassel of a beard, and the Wu hook is as bright as the snow. Suddenly, on the battlefield, a poem was recited. The crowd looked at Chu Kuangren, who was killing with his sword, and their hearts trembled. It's him, he's reciting a poem. It's the poetic sword fairy, it's the poetic sword fairy, Chu Kuangren. Outside the mystic moon city, the onlooking cultivators were dumbfounded. Reciting a poem while fighting? F***ck me. So this is the poetic sword fairy? So cool. The silver saddle shines on the white horse, galloping like a meteor. Chu Kuangren's figure flickered. Although he did not use the spatial conveyor technique to move, his speed was still extremely fast. His body was like a meteor, and as he waved his sword, sword rays lit up the heavens and earth. 10 steps to kill a man, 1,000 miles unstoppable. The Purple Star sect's cultivators could not hurt Chu Kuangren at all. In terms of defense, Chu Kuangren was almost invincible. The Heaven Vortex, Heavenly Weapon, Stellar Immortal Physique, Immortal Body, and many other techniques allowed him to weave through the army unscathed. On the other hand, every time he waved his sword, he would reap countless lives. 1 step to kill a man. 10,000 soldiers were repelled. When the matter is done, I shall leave without a trace. Chu Kuangren waved his sword. The sword chi retracted. His mind power circulated around his body, and circles of light waves spread out. Any cultivator who got close to him was blasted away by the light waves, spitting out blood. At that moment, no one could stand around Chu Kuangren. He stood with his sword in his snow-white robe, like a sword fairy. Around him, corpses and the screams of his enemies could be heard. The Purple Star sect's cultivators were shocked by his methods, and they looked at him in horror. They hesitated, and no one dared to act rashly. Chu Kuangren chuckled when he saw that. He took out a jar of boundless romance and took a big gulp. He did not compose any more poems. That was because he had forgotten the rest. However, those few lines were enough to dazzle the surrounding spectators. They looked at Chu Kuangren with yearning in their eyes. So this is the poetic sword fairy. With a smile, he recites ancient poems. With a wave of his hand, he can turn his enemies into ashes. The poetic sword fairy, who is a master of both sword and poetry, truly lives up to his name. He's too powerful. 10 steps to kill a man, 1,000 miles unstoppable. What a heroic and murderous poem. It's a perfect match for the current situation. Chu Kuangren is such a playboy. The spectators were amazed. Some of the female cultivators even had a look of infatuation and longing in their eyes. Chu Kuangren, what a poetic sword fairy. Even a heavenly lord like the Purple Star Heavenly Protector could not help but feel amazed, but it was soon replaced by an intense murderous intent. The more talented Chu Kuangren was, the greater the threat he posed to the Purple Star sect. All the more reason for them to kill him. If they did not kill him today, the Purple Star sect would never have peace. Kill. The Purple Star Heavenly Protector wanted to attack Chu Kuangren. Unfortunately, he was stopped by the Divine Moon Daoist. Not only the Purple Star Heavenly Protector, but the other heavenly lords were also stopped by Yang Shao, the Lunar Palace Lord, and the Unknown Elder. Purple Star Heavenly Protector, do you see this? This is the person you want to kill. Can you kill him? The Divine Moon Daoist laughed out loud. Not far away, Yang Shao was also amazed. I finally know why Elder Chen Tian gave him the Heavenly Dust Jade token. It turns out that he's such a peerless figure. The poetic sword fairy truly lives up to his name. Chapter 876. In the Mystic Moon Ancient City, a great battle was taking place. Chu Kuangren made his move. With every step he took, he would kill, and with each kill, he would compose a poem. The poetic sword saint's technique had completely shocked everyone present. Meanwhile, the Purple Star Heavenly Masters were being held back by the other Heavenly Masters, so they could not attack Chu Kuangren. As for the other Heavenly Masters, they were not even worth mentioning in front of Chu Kuangren. Just as the Purple Star cultivators were in a dilemma, a tyrannical aura erupted from the Purple Star camp and swept out mightily. When everyone looked towards the source of the aura, their eyes lit up. It's Your Highness. Purple Stars Sequence 1, Zi Shao. Everyone's eyes lit up. The person who emanated the powerful aura was none other than the strongest cultivator of the Purple Star Sage Seed, Zi Shao. Poetic Sword Saint, Chu Kuangren. A deep voice rang out. Zi Shao stared at Chu Kuangren with a strong battle intent in his eyes. Chu Kuangren looked at him and said, "When I was sleeping, I felt like someone was yelling in my ear. Was that you?" "Humph, I'm surprised by your strength." Zi Shao snorted coldly. Then, purple light circulated around his body, and a purple armor covered his body. It was a defensive heavenly weapon. That's the Purple Star Heavenly Armor. The Purple Star Sequence 3, Zi Feng, narrowed his eyes. The Purple Star Heavenly Armor was one of the strongest defensive Daoist weapons in the Purple Star tribe. Even the Heavenly Master would have a hard time breaking it. After summoning the Heavenly Armor, Zi Shao took out a dark purple longsword. There were patterns on the blade that formed the silhouette of a dragon. The purple dragon saber is an offensive Daoist weapon paired with the heavenly armor. This is also a heavenly weapon. It seems like he feels threatened by the fact that he has two heavenly weapons in one go. Zi Feng said solemnly. In fact, Chu Kuangren's strength was much stronger than a sequence 2, so it was hard for Zi Shao not to feel threatened. With two heavenly weapons in hand, Zi Zhao's aura instantly skyrocketed. Chu Kuangren, I became a great Daoist lord 500 years ago. Since then, no one under the Heavenly Master has been able to hurt me except for the Golden Star Sequence 1. Let me see if you can do it. Zi Shao said coldly. Although Chu Kuangren's self-created immortal technique had shocked him greatly, Chu Kuangren was only a late-stage Daoist master in terms of cultivation level, which was similar to his own. Hence, he was confident that he could deal with Chu Kuangren. You're clearly so weak. Where does your confidence come from? Chu Kuangren shook his head and smiled. Take this. Zi Shao took a step forward and slashed with the long saber in her hand. All of a sudden, a majestic surge of saber chi gushed out from the blade and intertwined with the Daoist patterns before it transformed into a purple dragon shadow that charged towards Chu Kuangren. Useless move. Chu Kuangren casually swung his sword. The ultimate emperor energy erupted, and the sword energy tore the dragon shadow apart. Then, his body disappeared on the spot and reappeared in front of Zi Shao. The descendant self-sword in his hand slashed out with a brilliant sword light. Zi Shao raised his saber to block. Clang! The sound of golden jade rang out, and a powerful chi swept out. Zi Shao only felt an indescribably powerful force sweeping towards him, and his entire body was involuntarily sent flying backward. Such powerful strength. Zi Shao felt that his entire arm was numb. If not for the God Strength armor's protection, it was not impossible for his arm to be torn apart by that powerful force. Whoosh, Chu Kuangren's figure flashed again. He came to the sky above Zi Shao and smashed his fist down. Boom! His fist landed on the God Strength armor. The power that was enough to destroy a star made the heavenly Dao weapon tremble continuously. Although Zi Shao did not receive the full brunt of the punch, the powerful recoil was still shaking his internal organs. After that punch, Chu Kuangren grabbed Zi Zhao's arm and tossed him into the air. Then, his figure flashed, and his fists and legs landed on Zi Zhao's body, from left to right, and then above. The crowd was dumbfounded. The dignified purple star sequence 1 was like a helpless child in front of Chu Kuangren. The difference in strength was too great. Chu Kuangren came to the sky above Zi Shao and kicked him. Boom! Zi Shao smashed onto the ground like a meteor. With a loud explosion, the entire Mystic Moon ancient city shook, forming a huge crater. Zi Shao lay in the crater, coughing out blood continuously. The indestructible God Strength armor on his body had a few cracks. His hair was disheveled, and he looked extremely pathetic. An unprecedented sense of humiliation engulfed him. Ever since he became a Daoist master, this was the first time he was in such a sorry state. Even the sequence 1 from Venus did not injure him this badly. Moreover, he was completely suppressed. He was brutally tortured. The turtle shell on your body is quite hard. Chu Kuangren slowly landed on the ground. He chuckled. However, you're weaker than I thought. None of the purple star sequence 1s are decent. He looked at the other sequence 1s who were watching the battle from afar. Why don't you guys come at me together? I can finish you all off in one go. Upon hearing that, the other sequence 1s trembled and quickly took a few steps back. They had lost the courage to fight Chu Kuangren. The difference in strength was too great. Chu Kuangren, I must kill you. Kill you. At that moment, Zi Shao slowly stood up from the crater. He stared at Chu Kuangren with intense hatred in his purple pupils. Celestial River Apocalypse. Zi Shao growled and activated his immortal technique. The starlight around him surged towards him. With a lift of his hand, a dazzling celestial river filled with domineering aura surged towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren casually threw out a punch. Invincible technique, heaven and earth reversal. Boom! When the two powerful forces collided, the surrounding void immediately exploded. The starlight shattered, and the majestic fist energy landed on Zi Zhao's body. Once again, he was blasted away with blood spewing out of his mouth. In terms of immortal techniques, he was completely crushed by Chu Kuangren. No, no. Ah! Zi Shao roared. As the Purple Star Sequence 1, he was a proud person. Yet now, he was beaten to such a state in front of everyone. His pride was completely trampled under Chu Kuangren's feet. Take this. Purple Star Divine Gaze. Zi Shao leaped into the air, and an even more powerful immortal technique fluctuation emanated from his body. His eyes radiated a brilliant purple light. Zi Feng and the other immortal seeds could not help but exclaim. That's the Purple Star Divine Gaze. Purple Star's strongest immortal technique. In the history of Purple Star, only a few people managed to cultivate the Purple Star Divine Gaze. He's the Sequence 1 too. The immortal technique fluctuation on Zi Zhao's body grew stronger. The purple light that surged in his eyes was as dazzling as the stars. Go! The purple light in Zi Zhao's eyes condensed to its limit. Suddenly, a beam of purple light shot out. Wherever the purple light passed, the void shattered, and the phenomenon of falling stars was reflected. Even the Lord of the Heaven Law felt his heart palpitate when he sensed such a powerful aura. With a single thought, 10,000 rivers of ice and snow. An extremely powerful fluctuation erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. Cold chi swept across and froze the void. That was not an ordinary cold chi. It was the cold chi that erupted from the lunar immortal physique. Using an immortal physique to activate an immortal technique. The horrifying cold chi erupted and condensed into an ice mountain that smashed out. When the purple light landed on the ice mountain, it was corroded by the cold chi and was easily frozen. Then, it was easily shattered by the ice mountain. The Sky Path Lord's pupils shrank when they saw that. Immortal Physique. Chapter 877. The iceberg smashed through the purple light emitted by the Purple Star Divine Eyes and directly crashed into Zi Shao, completely shattering his pride. With a boom, the divine spear armor shattered. The indestructible heavenly Dao weapon could no longer withstand Chu Kuangren's continuous attacks and shattered into pieces on the ground. Purple Firmament's body was almost completely frozen by the frost chi. The group of heavenly Dao masters looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. Their senses were not wrong. Chu Kuangren's body had indeed exploded with the fluctuations of an immortal physique. He has an immortal physique. Purple Firmament Heavenly Protector said in shock. It's a frost attribute immortal physique. Could it be that he specializes in frost Taoism? What a terrifying frost chi. No wonder he's so powerful. He has an immortal physique. Immortal physiques were too rare in the Purple Gold Galaxy. In the history of all the known civilizations in the Purple Gold Galaxy, there were not many immortal physiques. Even the current Purple Star and Golden Star sequences did not have an immortal physique. Compared to the other Heavenly Dao Masters, the Divine Moon Daoist Master was even more shocked. Was that not Hai Tang's lunar divine physique? How could it be? How could Brother Chu have Hai Tang's lunar divine physique? The Divine Moon Daoist Master was dumbfounded. Chu Kuangren had given him too many surprises. Break! At that moment, a low roar came from the sky. The Wang family's elder had finally shattered the Divine Moon Daoist Master's sword chi cage. He then looked at Chu Kuangren with a fiery gaze. Daoist seal, immortal physique, young lad, I'll be taking your opportunity of fortune. The combat strength and talent that Chu Kuangren had displayed were too unbelievable. No one would believe that he did not have any opportunity of fortune or secret. Perhaps this opportunity of fortune could help one become an immortal. At that thought, the Wang family's elder was extremely excited. Do you think you can covet my secrets? Chu Kuangren sneered. With a thought, a golden red lotus appeared in his hand. The fire that formed the lotus was not an ordinary flame. It was the phoenix flame. Its flames were on the same level as Chu Kuangren's immortal physique. In fact, the godly phoenix physique was even more advanced than the lunar divine physique. The fire lotus shot out, burning the entire void. The Wang family's old ancestor punched out with his palm and two terrifying forces exploded. The Wang family's old ancestor was forced back tens of feet by the heat wave. Everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes. Chu Kuangren had forced the heavenly Tao master to retreat? He could actually fight against the master of the heaven Tao. This guy can even use phoenix fire? The patriarch of the Wang family narrowed his eyes. Then, he looked at Chu Kuangren with an even more fervent gaze. First an immortal physique, now a phoenix flame. Your opportunities of fortune and secrets are mine. You have to be alive to get it. Do you really think you can fight against the master of heaven law? Wang family ancestor snorted coldly. He channeled his emperor's qi to its limit, and the majestic aura of a heavenly Tao master instantly erupted and charged towards Chu Kuangren. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren channeled his mind power. In the void, a huge, rainbow-colored rune gathered. 9 rainbow-colored dragons soared into the sky and surged into his body, causing his aura to rise explosively. He actually rose to the peak of the great Tao Lord level in a single go. Tao integration. Chu Kuangren shouted. The heavenly energy hidden in his body also erupted. The heavenly energy surged. His aura rose once again. With the divine 9 dragons transformation and the heavenly energy, Chu Kuangren's current cultivation level was infinitely close to the master of the heaven Tao. His combat strength was even more unimaginable. Old man, you've lived for so long. You should be tired of living. Today, I'll send you on your way. Chu Kuangren said coldly. His figure flashed and instantly disappeared. The Wang family ancestor keenly sensed a spatial fluctuation behind him, so he turned around and launched a palm attack. That palm attack landed on the blade of a long sword. A powerful surge of energy swept over and hit the Wang family ancestor's arm, causing him to let out a cry of pain. He could feel it. That surge of energy contained more than just Emperor's qi. It also contained his mind power and physical strength. Emperor's qi, mind power, physical strength, and triple combat strength. Even someone as powerful as the master of the heaven Tao could not help but be sent flying. D***MNit. Tyrannical army shattering palm. The Wang family ancestor was extremely furious. He channeled his emperor's qi and launched a palm attack. The Daoist and emperor's qi intertwined to form a huge black palm. Honorable Emperor Sword Art, dominator of the universe. Immortal technique fluctuations erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. Behind him, a powerful emperor avatar formed. Thousands of sword qi surged in the avatar's palm and formed into a golden sword shadow. Then, it slashed at the Wang family ancestor. The black palm and golden sword qi collided. The palm was shattered. The Wang family ancestor was blasted away by the sword qi, and his body was left with several bloody sword wounds. Everyone's jaws dropped as they looked at the scene in disbelief. Chu Kuangren had overpowered the heavenly Tao master. Oh my God, am I blind? I can't believe this actually happened. The difference between a great Tao master and a heavenly Tao master is as big as a chasm. But now, Chu Kuangren has overpowered the heavenly Tao master as a great Tao master. Also, there are heavenly Dao fluctuations on him. He's even a celestial lord recognized by the heavenly Dao. Countless people were discussing. In this battle, Chu Kuangren had completely displayed combat strength that surpassed the scope of a sky pride. The Wang family ancestor looked at Chu Kuangren with his eyes trembling. A threat. An unprecedented threat of death. The Wang family ancestor gulped. He could sense a strong threat of death from the young man in front of him. Old man, aren't you the heavenly Dao master? Didn't you want the opportunity of fortune and secret on me? Why, are you afraid now? Chu Kuangren walked towards the Wang family ancestor as his aura continued to rise. With a twist of his sword chi surged out again. D****. The Wang family ancestor gritted his teeth and roared. He attacked the sword chi with his palm, but he was still blasted a few hundred meters away. Quick, help me! The Wang family ancestor shouted at the Purple Star cultivators. However, everyone had long been frightened by Chu Kuangren's strength. They could not wait to hide from him, so they did not have the courage to fight him. Die, old man! Chu Kuangren channeled his emperor's qi and mind power to their limits, and the ultimate reversal technique was unleashed. In an instant, the sun and moon were reversed, and the heavenly Dao master was thrown into disorder. A majestic fist qi enveloped the Wang family ancestor. No matter how hard he tried to resist, his body was blasted into a mist of blood. Chu Kuangren had almost crushed and killed a heavenly Dao master. And you? Chu Kuangren looked at the purple firmaments. The purple firmaments could not help but shudder, and a look of horror appeared in his eyes. In the face of death, the dignity of being the number one purple firmament sequence cultivator and his immortal seed status were all useless. He wanted to run away. However, his body was so stiff that it was hard for him to move. At that moment, the battleships in the sky began to glow with Daoist patterns, and countless cannons were aimed at Chu Kuangren. Fire! The third sequence cultivator, Zifeng, roared. Energy beams shot out continuously. Idiot! Chu Kuangren gently raised his hand. A ripple appeared in the space around him. Countless energy beams disappeared in the air before him, and then rained down from the battleships like raindrops. Spatial conveyor technique. One by one, the battleships suffered the consequences of their own actions and exploded. However, that was not the end. As Chu Kuangren raised his hand, spiritual qi gathered and turned into countless weapons in the blink of an eye, aimed at the battleships and the purple firmaments. With a single thought, 10,000 weapons created a disaster. The weapons shot out, and wherever they passed, it was as if the Grim Reaper had passed through. Countless battleships exploded like fireworks, and cultivators fell one after another. Even the purple firmaments could not escape. Chapter 878. As the thousands of soldiers passed through, the battleships exploded one after another. One by one, the Purple Star cultivators fell. With the Purple Star's Sky Lord being held back, and the Wang family's forefather being killed by Chu Kuangren, no one could stop him now. Today, those who wish to kill me, I shall kill them all. Chu Kuangren said coldly as his murderous intent poured out like a torrent. He glanced at Zi Shao, who was not far away. He raised his hand and condensed a spiritual weapon before shooting it towards his opponent. The weapon pierced through the void. Zi Zhao's pupils shrank as an unprecedented threat of death loomed over him. However, at that moment, a ray of purple light shone from his body. The purple light turned into a light barrier and repelled the spiritual weapon. A figure walked out from the light barrier. It was Palace Lord Ziwei. Palace Lord. No, this is a clone of the Palace Lord. This is a clone that the Palace Lord left on your highness. It was refined by the Palace Lord with many materials, so it has at least the strength of a Sky Lord. This is great. Chu Kuangren is dead for sure. The Purple Star cultivators were overjoyed. A Sky Lord was much stronger than the Wang family's forefather. Not to mention, this person was Palace Lord Ziwei. After all, he had an immortal technique in his hands. Chu Kuangren, the Palace Lord is here. Why aren't you bowing down? Zi Shao felt a surge of confidence when he saw Palace Lord Ziwei. It's just a clone. Do you really think it can stop me from killing you? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Sword chi circulated around his body and locked onto Palace Lord Ziwei. Palace Lord Ziwei stared back at him with a horrifying expression as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. B** starred. How dare you make the Purple Star suffer such heavy losses? Chu Kuangren could not help but laugh when he heard that, but it was soon replaced by a cold expression. You guys tried to kill me, and now you're blaming me for causing heavy losses? Palace Lord Ziwei, you must be out of your mind. Chu Kuangren had always adhered to the principle of not offending others if they did not offend him. However, once he was angered, he would return the favor tenfold. The Purple Star's actions had completely infuriated him. Especially when the other party had the guts to send Guardian Huang to Firmament Star to destroy his civilization. How could he tolerate that? Today, I will not only make you suffer heavy casualties. One day, I will personally visit Purple Star and let your Purple Star have a taste of what it feels like to have your civilization destroyed. Chu Kuangren's voice reverberated through the clouds and shook the starry sky. When the surrounding cultivators heard this, they were all shocked. Chu Kuangren was issuing a challenge to Purple Star. Purple Star wanted to kill him. He wanted to destroy the entire Purple Star. He planned to fight the entire civilization on his own. Does he really have a way to do this? Everyone was in a daze. Hall Master Ziwei's eyes were blazing with anger. Purple Star was the second most powerful civilization in the Purple Gold Galaxy. In the entire galaxy, there were not many who dared to provoke them. Not to mention publicly issuing a challenge to them. And a young cultivator at that. Such a thing had never happened since ancient times. Hall Master Ziwei was enraged, and her aura became more and more violent. Chu Kuangren, we can wait for another day. Today, I shall bury you here. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and gathered starlight that filled the sky. A giant starlight sword was formed and slashed towards Chu Kuangren. The awe-inspiring sword might shook the entire Mystic Moon ancient city. Chu Kuangren did not retreat nor evade. His mind power and Emperor's chi erupted at the same time. Honorable Emperor Sword Art, sole dominator of the universe. The Emperor's avatar was formed. Thousands of sword chi gathered to form a golden sword shadow that slashed out. Boom! Starlight Sword, Emperor's Sword. The two sword silhouettes collided with each other and the resulting shockwave sent the surrounding cultivators flying, causing them to fall to the ground in a daze. Chu Kuangren and Hall Master Ziwei were both pushed back from the collision. However, it was not over yet. With a single thought, 10,000 blade disaster. Tens of thousands of spiritual power blades gathered and locked onto Hall Master Ziwei. Bang bang bang. The blades were unleashed one after another. Hall Master Ziwei let out a cold roar. Galactic apocalypse. Immortal technique fluctuation spread. A Milky Way that stretched for tens of thousands of miles surrounded his body, blocking the thousands of incoming attacks before it smashed towards Chu Kuangren. With a single thought, 10,000 snowy rivers. His immortal physique activated his immortal technique. A terrifying chill instantly erupted and turned into a giant iceberg. Amidst the explosion, the galactic river froze. An unparalleled chill swept back, causing Hall Master Ziwei's pupils to shrink. Immortal physique. He activated his Emperor's chi and unleashed another attack, shattering the iceberg. However, the powerful force still sent him flying hundreds of meters away. This person must die today. Otherwise, there will never be a day of peace for Purple Star. Hall Master Ziwei's eyes surged with murderous intent. He let out a long roar, and endless starlight gathered towards him. Streams of galactic river appeared in the void, and the surging starlight energy caused the void to collapse. Come! Chu Kuangren yelled. Emperor's qi, mind power, and mystical Daoist patterns flowed on the surface of his body. A terrifying immortal technique fluctuation spread from his body. Go! Hall Master Ziwei waved his hand. Instantly, streams of galactic river smashed towards Chu Kuangren. The galactic river flowed in the void, interweaving into an extremely beautiful scene. However, its terrifying power made everyone's heart palpitate. Chu Kuangren stood still in the face of such power. All of a sudden, the surrounding wind stopped, and the clouds stopped. It fell into a strange silence. Chu Kuangren suddenly opened his eyes, which were filled with a brilliant light. With a single thought, all shall be silent, and the heavens and earth shall perish. A purplish-red light wave that was a mixture of Daoist patterns, Emperor's qi, mind power, immortal physique chilling qi, and godly phoenix fire spread out in circles. Wherever the light wave went, the void was shattered. Streams of galactic river and light wave clashed together. The rumbling sounds were endless. Every time the galactic river and light wave collided, the void would collapse, and the entire Mystic Moon ancient city would tremble. After the collision, half of the Mystic Moon ancient city was in ruins. Chu Kuangren and Hall Master Ziwei were the first to bear the brunt of the impact. Affected by the energy impact, they were both pushed back. Chu Kuangren's physical body was extremely strong, so the impact did not affect him much. However, Hall Master Ziwei did not feel good. His face was pale, and blood was dripping from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Chu Kuangren with shock. What a powerful force! Is this enough to shock you? Chu Kuangren sneered. His figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. In the next instant, he appeared in front of Hall Master Ziwei. With the Descendant Self sword in his hand, he immediately suppressed Hall Master Ziwei. Chu Kuangren unleashed all kinds of techniques. At his current cultivation realm, any one of them was extremely powerful. With a single thought, he unleashed the invincible technique, Honorable Emperor Sword Art, Heavenly Reversal. Chu Kuangren unleashed a sword attack, and the invincible technique's power erupted. Hall Master Ziwei was sent flying by the sword attack. Purple Star Divine Gaze. Hall Master Ziwei let out a cold roar, and a dazzling purple light radiated from his eyes. Purple Star's strongest immortal technique, unleashed. Time halt. Just as the immortal technique was about to be unleashed, a burst of mysterious energy suddenly erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. It was a divine ability. A temporal divine ability. The purple light in Hall Master Ziwei's eyes froze for a moment. The next moment, Chu Kuangren appeared in front of him and unleashed the Descendant Self sword. His sword was unleashed, and a bloody light shone. Hall Master Ziwei's clone had fallen. Far away in Purple Star. Inside a palace, Hall Master Ziwei opened his eyes. Chu Kuangren. I must kill you. Chapter 879. Ancient Mystic Moon City. Chu Kuangren had killed Hall Master Ziwei's clone with a single slash of his sword. In the process, the temporal techniques that he had displayed had shocked many people. Time technique. How many trump cards does this guy have? It's too scary. Endless cultivation techniques and divine abilities. Just how does this guy cultivate? He's only 40 years old. The hearts of the Purple Star heavenly protectors, the black and white stars, and the others palpitated. After killing Hall Master Ziwei's clone, Chu Kuangren went up to the first sequence ruler, Purple Firmament, and with a single punch, he blew his opponent up. Purple Star's Sequence 1, dead. Go! Purple Star Heavenly Protector gritted his teeth and said. The combat strength that Chu Kuangren had displayed was so powerful that he could even kill a late-stage Heavenly Dao Master. Coupled with the mystic Moon Daoist Master, Yang Shao, and the others, the Purple Star Cultivators were utterly defeated this time. There was no way they could kill Chu Kuangren. Right now, they could only retreat. You want to leave? Too naive. Chu Kuangren locked his gaze on the black and white stars. In a flash, he appeared in front of the two Sky Dao Masters and unleashed his honorable Emperor Sword Art. The Dharma idol of the Emperor was condensing. The sword shadow in the Emperor's hand slashed down majestically. Bai Xing of the black and white twin stars shouted. Immediately after, waves of starlight gathered, transforming into a resplendent river of stars. However, this attack could not block the Emperor's sword. The Milky Way shattered. Bai Xing let out a blood-curdling scream as he was torn into two by the sword's shadow on the spot. Lien, The remaining black star could not help but let out a furious roar, his eyes almost popping out of his sockets. I'll fight you to the death. Black Star glared at Chu Kuangren furiously. In his rage, he channeled his Emperor's chi to its limit, and countless mysterious Daoist patterns appeared on his body. Dao patterns circulated, and starlight gathered on his body. It was as if Black Star had transformed into an entire star as he charged towards Chu Kuangren. It was a suicidal technique. Let's die together. Meteor explosion. It was accompanied by a furious roar. As Black Star got closer to Chu Kuangren, his body began to expand. Boom! It was accompanied by an earth-shattering noise. The starry space, spanning a radius of tens of millions of li, was shaken at the same time. Large swathes of space collapsed and countless cultivators were killed by the shockwaves. The self-detonation of a heavenly law lord was extremely powerful. Countless cultivators were waiting at the center of the explosion. That guy should already be dead. The Purple Star cultivators couldn't help feeling a little expectant. However, when the smoke and dust gradually dispersed and the energy ripples weakened, everyone looked towards the center of the energy and saw an incomparably shocking scene. Within the smoke and dust, a white-clothed figure stood in the air, like an immortal that had descended to the world. It was Chu Kuangren. However, there were no injuries on his body at all. Even the self-destruction of a Lord of the Heaven Dao can't hurt him. How is this possible? No, that's impossible. How could this guy be so powerful? Not even the Heavenly Law Master's self-destruction could do anything to him. The Purple Star cultivators were filled with disbelief. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren, who was engulfed by the violent energy, patted his chest and said indifferently, "Self-destruct? He's just seeking his own death." The self-destruction of a Lord of the Heaven Law was indeed terrifying. Even though Chu Kuangren had the Heavenly Dao weapon as a buffer, he still suffered quite a bit of impact. However, this only caused the immortal stellar physique to suffer some minor injuries, which were healed by the immortal body in the next second. Monster, one of the Dao Lords could not help but gulp. Not bad. To them, Chu Kuangren was no different from a monster. What kind of Sky Pride immortal seed was this? How could he possess such strength at the age of 40? He was definitely a monster. Let's run. The Purple Star cultivators panicked and began to escape. When Chu Kuangren saw that, thousands of sword chi suddenly rained down from his body in all directions. The sword chi then transformed into many clones. The sword chi clones chased after the group of Purple Star cultivators. Wherever they went, it was as if the god of death had passed through, causing countless deaths and injuries. This massacre lasted for an entire day. Less than 1/10 of the Purple Star cultivators survived, and none of them knew how they managed to escape. It was too terrifying. They could not help but shudder at the thought of Chu Kuangren's face. From that day onward, Chu Kuangren would become their nightmare. As for the cultivators who were watching the battle, they swore that they would never forget what they had seen and heard today for the rest of their lives. One person could stop an army of 1,000. A single person had utterly routed the Purple Star cultivators. One person could dominate the entire galaxy. On the battlefield, Chu Kuangren's sword chi clones dissipated one by one. His aura also gradually weakened. After the 9 dragons' heavenly transformations effect wore off, he returned to the Dao Lord late stage. However, no one dared to underestimate him. That was because this Dao Lord had single-handedly killed 4 heavenly lords right in front of them. One of them was even a late-stage heavenly lord. "Brother Chu, how are you doing?" the God Moon Dao Lord asked. "Very well." Chu Kuangren chuckled. He looked at the mystic moon ancient city with an apologetic look in his eyes. "Brother Shen Moon, I'm sorry for dragging the mystic moon ancient city into this. Brother Chu, you don't have to say anything. It's just a city." The God Moon Dao Lord waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "Before the Purple Star army arrived, the cultivators in the city had either fled or hid. The only thing that was damaged was the city. We can just rebuild it." Chu Kuangren nodded. "Brother Shen Moon, don't worry. I'll return you an even more magnificent mystic moon ancient city." He looked into the distance with a cold gaze. "And to do that, I'll have to make the Purple Star bleed." Everyone could not help but feel a little fearful at his words. They remembered that Chu Kuangren had just issued a challenge to the Purple Star. "Brother Chu, do you really want to go to the Purple Star?" the God Moon Dao Lord asked. "That's right. The Purple Star has been causing me trouble time and time again. They even tried to destroy my firmament star. I must settle this score with them. The Purple Star has dominated the Purple Gold Galaxy for so many years. Their resources are extraordinary, and they even have a pseudo-immortal. Brother Chu, you may be strong now, but I'm afraid you're still no match for the Purple Star," the God Moon Dao Lord advised. To him, Chu Kuangren's current strength was already at the peak of the Purple Gold Galaxy. However, compared to a civilization with a rich heritage like the Purple Star, he was still lacking. "Brother Shen Moon, you don't have to worry. I know this very well. I didn't say that I'll go immediately. Before that, I'll leave the mystic moon ancient city for a while. I'll only act when the time is right," Chu Kuangren said calmly. He knew how dangerous and difficult it was to go against an entire civilization all by himself. He would not act rashly before he was confident. Then, Chu Kuangren looked at Yang Xiao and the others. "Everyone, I'll remember your help today." He cupped his fists and said, "Brother Chu, you're too kind. We're only here to return a favor to the pseudo-immortal mortal heaven." "That's right. Many years ago, Senior Mortal Heaven once forged a sword for me. I've finally returned this favor today. Now that I've returned the favor, my thoughts are clear. After I go back and go into closed-door meditation for a while, I'll definitely be able to break through my bottleneck." Everyone said one after another. "Brother Chu, now that the Purple Star's matter is almost settled, it's time for us to leave. If you're free, feel free to visit the Royal Heaven Sword sect. I'll be sure to welcome you with open arms." Yang Xiao smiled faintly. After that, he turned around and left. The others also left one after another. Chapter 880. The battle at Mystic Moon Ancient City was too exciting. That battle attracted the attention of countless forces and civilizations, and the name of poetic sword god Chu Kuangren was once again pushed to the forefront. Countless people were discussing it. Initially, no one thought that Chu Kuangren would be able to survive. After all, he was up against the Purple Star civilization. However, he had managed to survive. Not only that, but he had also caused the Purple Star sect to suffer heavy losses. Apart from the Wang family's grand ancestor and his clone, the Purple Star sect had suffered 3 casualties. The Black and White Double Stars, and Guardian Huang, who had died in Firmament Star. The Master of the Heavenly Law was the cornerstone of a civilization. How many Masters of the Heavenly Law could there be in a civilization? Even for a powerful civilization like the Purple Star, there were no more than 10 Heavenly Law Masters on the surface. But now, 3 of them had died. Not to mention the casualties of the other Dao Lords. In fact, even a first-rank Immortal seed had died. In addition, the most important thing for Purple Star was face. The stronger and more famous a force was, the more importance it placed on its face, just like Purple Star. This time, they could not kill Chu Kuangren. Instead, they had fallen into his hands and were used as a stepping stone for him to make a name for himself in the galaxy. Purple Star's reputation had hit rock bottom. Compared to before, it was unknown how much his prestige had dropped. That was what the higher-ups of the Purple Star sect could not tolerate. After the battle at the Mystic Moon Ancient City, the Purple Star sect issued a kill order for Chu Kuangren. A bounty as high as 10 billion spiritual essence stones. Apart from that, there were also 2 Heaven Dao weapons, an immortal art, the position of a Purple Star guest elder, and many other great rewards. It could be said that whoever killed Chu Kuangren would have a meteoric rise. As soon as this bounty was issued, the entire galaxy was shaken. Unfortunately, not many people dared to accept it. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was undeniable. Even after Purple Star had sent out several Heavenly Dao Masters, they still could not do anything to him. Instead, they were beaten to a pulp by Chu Kuangren and lost all their dignity. Who would dare to provoke someone like Chu Kuangren? The Master of the Heaven Dao didn't dare. Even some advanced cultivation civilizations did not dare to do so. Ancient Mystic Moon City. After the battle at the ancient city, the cultivators who left came back one after another. Although many parts of the ancient city had been damaged, there were still some places that were in good condition. Soon, it became lively again. Have you heard? The Purple Star sect has issued a kill order for Chu Kuangren. Yeah, that reward is really too generous. Even I'm extremely tempted. The assassin organizations in this galaxy should be getting restless. You're moved? Why don't you try it? What kind of joke is this? I still want to live. It's not like you guys didn't see the battle that day. That guy is simply a monster. I heard that the Black Blood Tower has taken action. Oh my God, there's really someone who dares to do that. In the ancient city of Mystic Moon, countless cultivators were still immersed in the battle not long ago. They were unable to calm down for a long time and were still discussing it. At this moment, at the end of the street, a gorgeous white robe slowly walked over. When the people on both sides of the street saw the white robe, they all retreated to the side, as if they were welcoming a king, automatically opening up a path for this person. That person was Chu Kuangren. Everyone looked at him with reverence and worship in their eyes. Chu Kuangren was not bothered by the gazes and discussions of the crowd. He went straight to the 3000 firm. Elderly received him. Fellow Daoist Chu, how have you been? Elderly looked at Chu Kuangren with a hint of reverence in his eyes. Even Elderly did not expect Chu Kuangren to be so monstrous. His value was far beyond his imagination. How's the preparation for the thing I want? Chu Kuangren's main purpose of coming here was to obtain the ingredients for brewing the God's Wine of Enlightenment. It's almost ready. Elderly took out a yin and yang ring. Inside it were the ingredients for brewing the God's Wine of Enlightenment. Chu Kuangren took it and scanned it with his emperor's thought. He then took out a yin and yang ring too. This is the rest of the payment. He had spent more than half of his spiritual marrows to purchase this batch of ingredients. However, the spiritual marrows were just worldly possessions. If he could successfully brew the god's wine of enlightenment, he would be willing to spend more. Thank you, Brother Chu. After completing the transaction, Chu Kuangren left. Master Chu. When he passed by the Wind Moon House, the Wind Moon House mistress saw him and could not help but call out in surprise. Hello, mistress. Master Chu, what's up? Do you want to have a drink or two today? Chu Kuangren rubbed his nose and smiled. I've just bought a few things. I'm afraid I don't have the fortune to enjoy them. Master Chu, you really know how to joke. If you're here, we're willing to pay for it. The spiritual marrows don't matter. The Wind Moon House mistress said as she pulled Chu Kuangren into the Wind Moon House. Ladies, Master Chu is here. The Wind Moon House mistress shouted. Xiaoya and the others immediately walked out. It's Master Chu. That's great. Servants, prepare some wine for Master Chu. Xiaoya said to a servant. Chu Kuangren heard and quickly said, There's no need for that. I'm only here to listen to the music. I'll pass on the wine. The wine at the Wind Moon House was shockingly expensive. It did not matter to him in the past. Now that he had bought the ingredients for the god's wine of enlightenment, he was short of money. Ah, master, you don't have to be so formal. I've already said that all your expenses are on me. The Wind Moon House mistress rolled her eyes and said. Xiaoya and the others understood what was going on. Yes, master. Come, please have a seat. If it's Master Chu, it's not a problem even if you're a freeloader. Don't say freeloader. You can even pay for it. A woman said with a lustful look in her eyes. Quite a few people also had the same thought. Chu Kuangren was too outstanding. They knew that a man like him was out of their league, but if something could happen between them, they would be more than happy. There were also many customers in the Wind Moon House. Seeing how popular Chu Kuangren was, they felt a little jealous. It's good to be handsome. Tisk tsk, being handsome isn't the main point. The main point is that he's handsome, strong, and talented. No one can compare to him. The title of poetic sword fairy is not just for show. These women in the Wind Moon House usually have their eyes on the top of their heads, but when they look at Chu Kuangren now, they can't wait to pay for it. Stop it, stop it. Compared to the poetic sword fairy, I feel like I'm useless. Sigh, comparisons are odious. After having a good time in romance brothel, Chu Kuangren returned to the city hall with a flask of eternal romance in hand. However, this time, he did not plan to stay. This time, he was here to say goodbye. Brother Chu, you're leaving? Tang Haitang looked at Chu Kuangren and could not help but feel a little sad. Although they had not spent much time together, Tang Haitang was sure that she had fallen in love with Chu Kuangren. Now that they had to part, she could not help but feel sad. Chu Kuangren saw Tang Haitang's sadness and smiled. The universe is vast and boundless. There are still many people and sceneries waiting for me to meet. Miss Tang, if fate allows, we will meet again in the future. Yes. Tang Haitang nodded. Brother Chu, I won't be seeing you out then. The God Moon Daoist master said. Alright, see you again. Chu Kuangren no longer lingered and turned to leave. Behind him, Tang Haitang looked at him reluctantly. The sacred Moon Daoist looked at his daughter and said, Brother Chu is destined to stand at the top. The scenery he sees is not something ordinary people can see. If you want to stand side by side with him, Haitang, you have to work hard. He was using Chu Kuangren to encourage Tang Haitang. Yes, I will. Tang Haitang nodded firmly. Chapter 881. In the Vast Universe. A battleship was sailing. On the ship, Chu Kuangren was sitting with his legs crossed. Above his head were two mysterious runic symbols that were floating and glowing. That was the Technique Validation Seal. The Technique Validation Seal was a treasure that could only be condensed when one created an immortal technique and resonated with the Daoist will of the universe. There was only one effect of this treasure: imbuing it with Dao technique energy. In other words, after refining the Testimony Seal, Chu Kuangren would be able to increase the power of his Dao techniques in the future. Even immortal techniques would be enhanced. That was a terrifying thing. To Chu Kuangren, the Technique Validation Seal was more valuable than an immortal technique. After spending a month, I've finally fully refined this Technique Validation Seal. Now, let's test out the effects of this Technique Validation Seal. Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with anticipation. He looked at an uninhabited planet not far away and raised his hand. A powerful immortal technique fluctuation spread out. Above his head, the Technique Validation Seal floated and glowed mysteriously, resonating with the immortal technique on his body. Invincible Technique, Universal Reversal. Chu Kuangren threw a punch. Like a purple torrent, his fist strength pierced through the sky and landed on that planet, followed by an earth-shattering explosion. The planet exploded into a ball of flames. So powerful. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Shattering a small planet was nothing to him. However, he had only used less than 10% of his strength in that attack. More importantly, he had only used one Technique Validation Seal. If he had used two Technique Validation Seals at the same time, the power of that attack could be enhanced. With this Technique Validation Seal, my strength will rise to another level. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction. Then, as if he had thought of something, he licked his lips and said, "Creating an immortal technique gives me a Technique Validation Seal. If I continue to create my own immortal techniques in the future, I'll be able to obtain more Technique Validation Seals. One Technique Validation Seal already has a huge enhancement effect on my Dao technique. If I have 10 or 100 of them, what will it be like? To what extent will my Dao art be amplified?" If anyone knew what he was thinking, they would definitely scoff. Creating one's own immortal art was extremely difficult even for immortals. Create 10 or even 100 immortal arts. Was that even possible? Even in the eyes of immortals, it was a fantasy. Chu Kuangren knew this as well. However, he did not give up. It's fun to challenge something that others think is impossible, Chu Kuangren murmured with bright eyes. What was impossible? What was impossible? He didn't understand. Let's take it slow. At least wait until the soul of enlightenment wine is done brewing. Chu Kuangren knew that self-creating an immortal technique could not be rushed. He created these two immortal techniques with the help of the Divine Enlightenment Wine. The Divine Enlightenment Wine would be a great help to him in creating his own immortal technique, and the materials he bought had already been properly disposed of. However, it would still take some time to brew the Enlightenment Wine. Return. Chu Kuangren kept the two Daoist seals back into his body. Let's think about how to deal with Purple Star first. When he said that he wanted to destroy Purple Star, it was not a joke. He really had this idea, and he was putting it into action. The first prerequisite was to increase his strength. Even though he was very powerful now and could kill an ordinary Heavenly Lord or even a late Heavenly Lord if he went all out. However, it was still a little difficult to deal with an entire civilization. Who knew how many Heavenly Lords or even hollow immortals were hiding in Purple Star? Although he had the immortal body, he would not be careless. If I want to increase my strength quickly, I'll have to draw some powerful reward. However, it's a matter of probability. I can't rely on it completely. To be more practical, I can only consume the stars. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up as he looked at the starry sky in front of him. An ordinary cultivator would need the support of resources if they wanted to increase their strength quickly. To Chu Kuangren, these stars were resources. They were all nutrients for his eternal star physique. In the remaining time, Chu Kuangren began to look for some stars that he could absorb to improve his immortal stellar physique. 3 months had passed. Chu Kuangren had continuously consumed dozens of uninhabited planets. His eternal star physique had become much stronger. However, there was still a long way to go before it reached its peak. Not enough. It's far from enough. The planets I've absorbed these past few days are only level 4 and level 5 planets. It's far from enough for my eternal star physique to have a breakthrough. In fact, as my eternal star physique continues to improve, these level 4 and level 5 planets are becoming less and less useful to me, Chu Kuangren murmured. He sat on the warship with a star map in his hand. He had obtained the star map from a nearby civilization. The star map showed that there was a level 7 planet a light year away from him. It was an uninhabited planet, which was also his destination. Let's draw a prize first, Chu Kuangren said. He opened the fantasy roulette. The roulette instantly changed. Congratulations, host. You've obtained a god-tier technique, heavenly engulfing divine art. A god-tier technique, heavenly engulfing divine art? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Withdraw. He extracted the heavenly engulfing divine art. Suddenly, all sorts of mysteries regarding this technique surged into his mind. The heavenly engulfing divine art is a heavenly engulfing technique. Chu Kuangren could not help but be shocked. A heavenly engulfing technique. Chu Kuangren had been paying attention to this technique since a long time ago. However, it was too rare, so he never had the chance to see it. He did not expect to obtain it today. The heavenly engulfing divine art was a technique that targeted the heavenly Tao. The heavenly engulfing divine art could seize the power of other heavenly Daoists and merge it with the heavenly Tao of one's own star. It was a top-notch heavenly engulfing technique. However, there were 2 prerequisites for this heavenly engulfing divine art. First, the user must possess the power of the heavenly Tao. Only with the power of the heavenly Tao could this technique be used to devour other heavenly Daoists. Second, this heavenly engulfing divine art could not directly seize the heavenly Daoists of other stars. There must be a medium, such as a celestial lord. A celestial lord was recognized by the heavenly Tao and possessed the power of the heavenly Tao. They were connected to the heavenly Tao, so they were the best medium. In other words, Chu Kuangren could use this heavenly engulfing divine art to devour the heavenly Tao of other celestial lords and merge it with the firmament star's heavenly Tao. Although there were 2 limitations, it did not affect the power of this heavenly engulfing divine art. Among all the heavenly engulfing divine arts, the heavenly engulfing divine art was the best. Looks like I should try it on a celestial lord in the future. Chu Kuangren chuckled. For the time being, he set his sights on the grade 7 planet on the star map. Not long after, he arrived at the grade 7 planet marked on the star map. However, there were many cultivators guarding the planet. Chu Kuangren was not surprised. Some uninhabited planets often contained rich resources, so it was common for some civilizations or orthodoxies to target them for resources. However, Chu Kuangren had his eyes on this planet now. He immediately entered the interior of the planet. The starlight immortal physique was activated. The entire planet began to tremble. The cultivators on the planet fell into a panic and quickly evacuated. In the universe, the grade 7 planet continued to collapse. The cultivators did not know how this happened, but they could feel that the energy that could destroy the planet was not something they could defend against. Chapter 882. Star Devourer. A cultivator in the starry sky looked at the collapsing giant planet and could not help but swallow his saliva. Star Devourer? Hearing this name, someone revealed a puzzled look. That person also explained, Star Devourer is a terrifying existence that appeared recently. No one knows if it's a human, a demon, or a spiritual body. However, wherever this person goes, the stars will gradually collapse and disappear as if they're being devoured. It's extremely terrifying. That person's eyes were filled with fear. Originally, I didn't believe this rumor. However, this planet is starting to collapse right in front of us. This must be the doing of the Star Devourer. Hearing this, everyone could not help but gasp. Feeding on planets? What kind of terrifying existence is that? Let's leave quickly. Who knows if this Star Devourer will devour humans? If we're devoured, we'll have nowhere to cry. Yes, let's leave quickly. Let's go back and report to the clan leader and the rest. Facing such a terrifying existence, I believe the clan leader and the rest will not make things difficult for us. After saying that, everyone left. In the universe, the giant planet was still collapsing continuously. Soon after, less than 1/10 of the giant planet was left. Looking from afar, there was only a huge earthy yellow ball of light left. On its surface, there were broken mountains, rivers, and the earth. Several warships flew over from afar. Among them, a red-robed lady stood on one of the warships. Beside her were a few injured cultivators. The red-robed lady and the rest were all equipped with long swords. Although they were injured, the sword chi on their bodies was still extremely sharp. "Senior sister, we can't go any further." A young man looked at Duan Muhong and said anxiously, "I heard that the Star Devourer is up ahead. If we go any further, we might be in danger." Duan Muhong's expression was cold. "Of course I know that. However, the Black Blood Hall's assassins are chasing us relentlessly. Now that we're all heavily injured, if we don't take the risk, I'm afraid none of us will survive." The white-robed young man was speechless. They looked at the warships behind them and gritted their teeth. "All right, we'll listen to senior sister. Let's go all out." In the warship behind Duan Muhong and the others, a group of cultivators in black robes and masks were gathered together. One of the assassins wearing a silver mask had a solemn look in his eyes. "Rumor has it that the Star Devourers appear up ahead. Should we continue chasing?" Everyone fell silent when they heard about the Star Devourer. "Chase." A golden-masked assassin, who seemed to be the leader, said coldly, "If we let these people return to the Royal Heaven Sword sect alive, our Black Blood sect will probably be in big trouble. As for that Star Devourer, it's just a rumor. If it's true, I'd like to see it for myself." For some powerful cultivators, destroying a planet wasn't a difficult task. However, this Star Devourer's methods were strange. It could actually devour a planet, which was why many cultivators were fearful of it. However, the golden-masked assassin believed that he had a high cultivation level and was fearless. Even if there really was a Star Devourer, he was confident that he could escape unscathed. Very soon, the few warships gradually approached the Star Devourer's domain. They felt a terrifying pressure enveloping the entire starry sky, causing their battleship to lose control. Not good, the warship has become difficult to control. There seems to be a suction force. Duan Muhong, the golden-masked assassin, and the others were astonished. At this moment, their warship seemed to have entered a gravitational whirlpool. It was very difficult to control the direction, and they were flying toward the center of the whirlpool. "Look, what's that?" Suddenly, someone cried out in alarm. In the distance, a huge earthy yellow ball of light appeared. On the surface of the ball of light, there were scenes of shattered mountains and rivers, rolling lava, and other scenes. These scenes were continuously collapsing into the ball of light. That ball of light would occasionally expand and shrink. It was like a rising tide and a receding tide. Vaguely, they could hear a series of heavy breathing echoing in the starry sky. It was coming from inside the ball of light. Gulp, someone could not help but swallow his saliva. What exactly is inside that? There's actually a Star Devourer. This is too terrifying. Destroying a planet isn't difficult for some powerful cultivators, such as Dao Lords, but devouring a planet? This is the first time I've seen something like this. It's really too terrifying. Everyone looked at the ball of light in astonishment. Seeing that the warship was gradually losing control, Duan Muhong shouted loudly, "Oh no, we're about to be sucked in. Quick, get out of the warship." She immediately led the others out of the warship and hovered in the starry sky, using her Emperor Qi to resist the suction force emitted by the ball of light. The golden-masked assassin, silver-masked assassin, and the others did the same. Everyone met in the starry sky, and the atmosphere immediately became tense. "Kill them first, and then leave this place immediately," the golden-masked assassin said loudly. Even he felt a trace of fear toward the mysterious existence in the ball of light. Was that the Star Devourer? It was better not to provoke it. The group of assassins charged toward Duan Muhong and the others. Duan Muhong and the others naturally would not wait to be captured, and they immediately resisted. Sword light flashed, and all sorts of energy exploded in the starry sky. Boom, boom, at this moment, consecutive explosions came from nearby. Those warships were sucked to the surface of the ball of light, and then they collided with a powerful force and exploded. Dazzling sparks bloomed from the warships. When Duan Murong and the others saw this, their hearts could not help but tremble slightly. This wouldn't alarm the Star Devourer, right? In fact, it was indeed alarmed. Inside the ball of light, Chu Kuangren, who was devouring the star energy, felt an external impact that did not belong to the star. This affected his devouring process. It was as if he was eating and suddenly found a few grains of sand in his rice. Although it was edible, it was still unpleasant. Chu Kuangren could not help but frown. He then pushed his Emperor Qi and Universal Cauldron physique to their limits to absorb the remaining star energy. Outside the ball of light, Duan Muhong and the others felt an even stronger suction force suddenly erupt from the ball of light. Then, the entire ball of light began to shrink rapidly. It was followed by a deafening explosion. The ball of light exploded. The majestic impact swept in all directions. Duan Muhong, the golden-masked assassin, and the others bore the brunt of it and were blasted away. The Royal Heaven Sword sect cultivators, who were already injured, were now even more injured. They stared at the center of the energy explosion. They could vaguely see a figure within it. Is that a person? Is that a person devouring the star? Everyone was extremely curious. That person slowly walked out of the center of the energy explosion. That person was dressed in a gorgeous white robe with an elegant ancient sword hanging from his waist. However, his face was shrouded in a layer of spiritual light, so no one could see his face clearly. However, that person's aura was deep and unfathomable. With just one look, one could tell that he was a peerless figure. What a deep aura. I can't even tell what's going on, the golden-masked assassin said solemnly. After all, he was a great Daoist master. Even if it was a Daoist master who was more powerful than him, he would still be able to see through them. However, he could not see through the person in front of him at all. Unfathomable. You're tuning in to the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.